And a very pleasant Monday evening, everybody, as we welcome you to the 2016 High School Football Preview Show presented by Nick Abraham, Elyria Ford, as we are live at Wolfie's Bistro and Pub right here at Route 57 and East Broad Street in Elyria. Tim Elkhorn along with Rob Polinsky. We're going to settle in here at Wolfie's and talk football for the next 3 hours and maybe more on AM 930 WEOL, and of course on the WEOL mobile app and online at WEOL.com. A week from Friday, the high school football season will kick off. The 2016 season will get underway on Friday night, August 26th. Of course, we'll have a triple header on AM 930 WEOL, and of course on our website, WEOL.com, and on that mobile app. Our radio game to start things off will be Lorain High taking on the Midview Middies. Stream 2 on WEOL.com will feature Elyria Catholic and Brookside. And, of course, we will have a Medina County matchup as well on Stream 3. The Medina County matchup, I'll tell you what, that thing has certainly gained in popularity as it has gone along. This year's Medina County matchup to open things up will be Highland and Brunswick. So tonight here at Wolfie's, from now until 9 o'clock, we've got all, or certainly most of, the Lorain County High School football coaches gathering to talk about the upcoming season and their teams as far as the year that is about to commence is concerned. Rob, as always, a pleasure to be here at Wolfie's and a pleasure to be working with you. As we say, you get the coaches all together and all of a sudden you hear the highlights that Alan Calcaterra will be playing throughout the night, and you get excited about high school football kicking off a week from Friday.
You're right, we do, and it's going to be a great year, Tim. As you look at our coverage, you mentioned the triple header, 35 games in the 10 regular season weeks that begin 1 week from Friday, really exciting. And that first week of games is a great week with Lorain and Midview. That could be one of the really good games in the regular season. When you look at the whole regular season, that's one of the real matchups that you've got to be excited about. That Highland-Brunswick game the last couple of years has been outstanding. Both those programs, what they've done, it speaks for themselves. And to be able to go to Brookside this year, for I can't remember, I know I was there once, but it was years ago. But to go and have EC at Brookside, I think that's going to be a great game as well. So really excited for the lid lifter a week from Friday.
And Rob, we're coming off a season, the 2015 campaign, in which 6 Lorain County high school football teams advanced to postseason play. So it was a tremendous year last year as far as teams in our area that were able to move on and play in a Week 11 matchup. And certainly, as you look at the rosters this year, you look at some of the returning starters that clubs will be bringing back as far as the upcoming season is concerned. It promises to be a pretty successful year this year, at least on paper. You got to play the games out on the field, but it looks as though teams are having tremendous players come back, which could lead to success.
Right, and then it's always that what's the team that's going to surprise us, or maybe two teams that maybe you didn't think on paper they would do as well as they do, and maybe who's a team that maybe doesn't have the success that you might think will happen. And it happens in high school sports. I mean, it's just a part of it. You know, what'll be the teams that represent Lorain County in Week 11, but I think you got to enjoy the process, enjoy that journey through the 10 weeks. I'm sure there'll be several teams, and that's one of the great things with, the playoffs now having the 8 teams in each region. It gives so many more teams that playoff experience. I think back to just 2 years ago when I got to be part of seeing Keystone for the very first time go on the road and play a playoff game, where years ago they wouldn't have qualified, Tim. And right. So that's one of the neat things with it getting expanded. So who will be the teams this year? Time will tell.
Well, a couple of things before we get to our coaches, because there are a lot of coaches that have made their way into Wolfie's already as we get things started here at Wolfie's Bistro and Pub. First of all, a great big thank you to everybody here at Wolfie's. I think this is the 4th or 5th year now that we've had our football coaches preview here at Wolfie's, and so to the staff and everybody here, great location to have our football coaches preview show. Tremendous food. We're out here on the back patio. The sun has somewhat broke through, so a great night to be here at Wolfie's. Come on down and pay us a visit. We'd love to see you, but we thank everybody at Wolfie's. Of course, thanks to the coaches. As we said, there's a big turnout already. We just came out on the air shortly after 6 o'clock, so we thank all the coaches. And we've already gotten a few emails and phone calls at the radio station about the Forecast magazine. Well, I got a call at about 4 o'clock this afternoon that they had been delivered over at the Chronicle Telegram. It's going to be inserted into the Chronicle on Friday, but we were able to scoop up a few before they go in the paper on Friday. So if you want to get an advance copy, a sneak peek at that Forecast magazine, you don't want to wait until the Friday Chronicle or until it goes out to the Lorain County Fair next week. We've got a handful down here at Wolfies. Congratulations to Midview's Logan Bolin, last year's Golden Helmet Award winner. And, of course, we always honor the previous year's Golden Helmet Award winner by putting him on the cover of the Forecast magazine. So a great shot of Logan Bolin as he's about to make a catch. Of course, he was a tremendous receiver and quarterback for Midview last year when Dustin Crum was shaken up. So Logan Bolin on the cover of the Forecast magazine. So we've got Forecast magazines. We've got a great spot to host the football preview show right here at Wolfies. And we've got a bevy of coaches lined up. I think it's going to be a fun night here at Wolfies.
Doesn't get any better than that.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our first time out. And when we come back, we generally go in the order in which the coaches arrive here at Wolfies. And who was first on the scene? None other than Elyria Catholic's Dave Stupka. So we're going to talk to the head coach of the Panthers following this timeout. We'll get his thoughts on what's about to transpire for EC out on that football field as far as the 2016 season is concerned. So we'll hear from the head coach of Elyria Catholic following this. It's our high school football preview show, presented by Nick Abraham, Elyria Ford. Huge thank you to Chuck Sturgill and everybody over at Nick Abraham, Elyria Ford. We're on AM 930 WEOL. We're on your phone if you download the WEOL mobile app. And Rob, we're online
at WEOL.com.
Veterans benefits earned through your service in the National Guard or Reserve can offer a range of support.
I wouldn't be here today as a successful woman without the help that I received.
From home loans to job training, go to benefits.va.gov/Guard Reserve to find out more, even how to apply online using eBenefits.
This is one of the best things I ever did in my life.
We were very fortunate to have these benefits, so we definitely ought to use them.
Achieve your next mission. Learn about your VA benefits today.
And we welcome you back to Wolfie's Bistro and Pub. It is the site of our annual high school football preview show. Tonight, we're here until 9 o'clock, maybe a little bit longer. They always seem to run a little bit late, but, we have the wherewithal to just keep going. As long as coaches keep showing up, we just keep talking. So, again, glad to have you dialed in tonight on AM 930 WEOL, maybe on the WEOL mobile app. Great way to listen via your phone. Of course, you can listen online at WEOL.com. I've gotten 4 texts already from folks that are either listening on the app or on WEOL.com. And then EC head coach Dave Stupka commenting during the break that now we've become video stars. How about Joe Bach? Yes, B-O-C-K from WLCS TV 20, Lorain City Schools Television. He's on hand. He's got the film rolling. It's going to be up on the YouTube channel. Joe, how many YouTube viewers do you have now? 600,000 on Lorain City Schools YouTube channel. That means Ed Trinashevsky has watched the same show 600,000 times. He just sits at his house in Lorain and just keeps going to WLCS TV 20.
Joe Bach, he always does so much homework and preparation and getting ready for these things. He called me today about 4:45 and said, do you mind if I show up and take some video? And when are you guys going to be there? I'm like, in about 15 minutes. You might want to ask Tim, but yeah, I think it'll probably be all right. But, Joe always does that, last-minute stuff as only he can.
Well, it's great to be on WLCS TV 20, and, of course, look for it on their YouTube channel, because you and Big Ed will then make 600,001 viewers to the WLCS TV 20 YouTube channel. No, that's great. I mean, that's awesome. 600,000. All right, let's start talking football. We're going to do it all night long here at Wolfies as we get cranked up for the 2016 season. Great to have the head football coach over at Elyria Catholic High School, Dave Stupka, sit down at the table and join us. Dave now in his second year as the head coach over at EC, coming off a 6-4 campaign in 2015. So, Dave, what changes from year 1 to year 2 over at EC? Obviously, you'd probably like to add a few more wins and perhaps a postseason berth, but What have you tweaked? What have you changed?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you guys, WEOL and Wolfies, for having us tonight. Very nice place, nice atmosphere, and I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk football tonight. So as we move forward into the second year, I think the biggest thing is that we lost a lot of very good players from last year. But as we look ahead here, we have tremendous competition this year for playing time. And I think as the season goes on, our depth is going to be a real positive for us as we move forward.
From what I understand, you'll have a young team this year, but it's a talented group of youngsters. So as they get better week by week, you'll really see this group start to blossom.
Well, we're really pleased over the last month. We had our camp, and we've had a couple weeks of 3-day practices in terms of the improvement of our entire football team. Even some of our seniors, juniors that didn't play significant time last year are ready to step up. And we scrimmaged Columbia and Buckeye last Friday, two very, very good football teams. And it took us a few plays to get to the level of intensity that both those fine squads have. And once we were able to do that, we started playing, get our feet underneath us a little bit. And just we've gotten better as this summer has gone on. So we're very optimistic.
How much easier for you and your staff now that you're in year two? You know the kids a little bit more, they know you.
Well, I think that is the biggest thing. I've had most of these young men in classes. I'm a teacher at Elyria Catholic, and got to know them as a teacher, and just through the course of our dealings at Elyria Catholic during the time, they got to know me better, I got to know them better, and I think that is without a doubt has made this year, I don't know if you want to say easier, but just more comfortable for the entire program.
Who are some of the leaders? Who are some of the guys you're counting on?
Well, we have some experienced players. Sam Best was our leading rusher last year. He's a senior. He will be a two-way player for us. He really has shown unbelievable leadership on the field and off, as an excellent student. Another one is Daryl Davis. He's a senior, had a great year last year. I don't want to miss out on anybody, but Griffin Perkins is another senior who was very experienced last year. He'll be a two-way guy for us. Austin Rofe is another one who didn't play a whole lot of varsity last year, but just has had an outstanding camp. He's a senior, has worked really, really hard, along with Tony Laparo, Josh Klingshorn, Devin Serrano. These are all guys, Brandon Vincenzo, who again, just a unbelievable worker in a weight room. So I'm sure I missed somebody in there, but those are the guys that really have worked hard. Our senior quarterback Jeff Spencer, the past couple years been our JV quarterback, backup quarterback under Jake Cookta. He's ready to flourish as a senior.
Well, you read my mind on my next question. And again, we're talking with Dave Stupka, head coach over at Elyria Catholic. Terrific quarterback the past few years, and Jake Cookta. I mean, put up some big-time numbers. As you said, you've got a quarterback now in Spencer that has kind of watched Jake. And yet, how big of a transition is it to go from watching and learning to getting under center and playing under the lights? Even though he's a senior, how much of a growing pains, for lack of a better term, do you expect perhaps early on?
Well, there may be. In our first scrimmage, he admitted to me, I told him afterwards, you seemed a little nervous. He says, yeah, I was a little nervous. And I said, I get that. I said, you're only going to get better. And Jake was so prolific and so productive. We want Jeff Spencer to be Jeff Spencer, not Jake Cookta. There's only one Jake Cookta. And I didn't mention Doug Taylor before, but Doug Taylor kind of said it best when he was asked this. Doug's a two-way player for us, is an outstanding player. He was asked a couple weeks ago about the seniors that left us, and he basically said, hey, we miss those guys. We thank them for all their hard work, but it's our turn now to try to carry on the tradition of Elyria Catholic, and we respect what they did, but I have confidence in my teammates that our guys are going to step up and get the job done. So, yeah, I think he said it better than I could ever say it.
Talk a little bit about the conference. You know, obviously you go into year 2 in the Great Lakes Conference with the likes of Bay and Rocky River and Holy Name and so forth. How do you see yourself lining up in the league this year, Coach?
Well, I think it's a very competitive league. I think without question, Bay, Holy Name are the teams to beat. Okay, without question, they return so many people. Holy Name, I think, returns 16 starters. Bay has tremendous offensive and defensive lines. I wouldn't discount Rocky River. The league is just so competitive. Normandy, Valley Forge, they have really good coaching staffs, and they had tough years last year, but as the year went on, they got better and better. I think the team to watch out for is Parma. And I think teams overlook Parma. They've had a coaching staff that has been together, different head coaches, but all those guys have been together for quite some time. They're excellent football coaches, and the program last year had 70 kids, grades 10 through 12.
Wow.
So I think that's a team that we're certainly not taking lightly. We don't take anybody lightly, but that's, I think, a team that could surprise some people this season.
What do you think the strength of this year's team could be?
Well, I think our kicking game is going to be a strength early on in terms of field position. I really believe our special teams, we spend a lot of time on our special teams, and we have Tanner Brooks. I didn't mention him before. He's a senior kicker. He has to be one of the best kickers in the area. So we think that's going to be a really good advantage for us. And I think the depth that I talked about in terms of we feel that we have guys that are competing for positions right now, and we feel, hey, we could have 18 guys that play on defense when it really matters. We could have 18 more play on offense. And so we think this depth is really going to help us. So somebody who's a third linebacker in week 1 may work himself into being a starting linebacker by week 5, week 6. We like our depth at all of our positions.
Dave, I remember talking to you last year on a Saturday morning wrap-up show, and you mentioned, and I don't remember which victory it was, but you were saying that the fans were excited and the kids were excited, but you said, we haven't won anything yet. I remember that conversation, and you were saying, we've got to win a big game and get to a point where we're expected to win those big games. I don't know if you recall that conversation.
Oh, yes, I do.
Is that still the mindset this year, especially with a young team, that there's got to be a win this year that perhaps nobody's anticipating that you think will kind of get you over that hump?
Well, one of the things that we've tried to emphasize in camp is that we have to play smart football. We have to play smart football. We have to outwork people. We have to outcondition people. And so that we put ourselves in the best position to beat a team that maybe we're not expected to beat, like a Bay,
there you go,
a Holy Name. That's on our radar with regard to that. But our concern right now is getting a little bit better each day and to be ready for the Brookside Cardinals, who present, I know you'll be talking to Coach later, they present some different problems for us. They do some really nice things, and so that's our main concern, is we want to be able to play the best that we can when we open at Brookside on the 26th.
Rob, you got that game.
Well, I have that game, and I saw you sitting right next to Coach, and I figured you guys were kind of, that's where we should have had the conversation right there. You guys getting it all figured out.
Well, we didn't talk too much about the game. We just kind of commiserated a little bit on all the problems us coaches have and things like that.
You guys have problems?
We all have problems.
You know what, though? I think for the county, EC playing a Lorain County team, especially in the league that you're in now, where there isn't a lot of that county matchups, I think that's a nice opener for both schools.
Well, we're extremely pleased with it. We feel that we're going to be challenged. We think it's a good competitive game, and we're going to do the very best we can with it, and we're certainly excited about it. And as you mentioned, we're in a league. We're the only Lorain County school, school that's in the league. We play VASJ, they're Cuyahoga. I don't even remember who we play week 3. CCC, okay, and this is it. This is it, really. So,
I mentioned talking to you on a Saturday morning wrap-up show, and of course we talk every week on the Football Forecast show. You have such a passion for the game of football. It comes when you're sitting right here or whether we're talking on the phone. How long have you been involved with the game now?
Well, geez, since I was in 3rd grade. I started in 3rd grade. I am not going to tell you what year that was. That was a long time ago. But this is so I've been involved in football since 3rd grade, since I've been 8 years old. And it's just it's the greatest sport on the face of the earth. I love it.
It's evident.
I tell people, I was like, this is my, 31st, 32nd year coaching. And I tell people, God willing, I would like to do it. They're like, when are you going to retire? I go, never. I don't want to. Good Lord willing, I just want to keep doing it because it certainly is something that we truly enjoy. Our family, I have 5 children, 2 Elyria Catholic students, and it's just really important to our family. Like, we're big football fans, and especially my 2 sons. They're on the sidelines. They love it, and it's just the greatest thing in the world
That's
for
awesome.
us.
That's all. Like I said, it is so evident that you just love the game of football. That's very cool. Well, hey, we appreciate you stopping by. I know Rob has your game next Friday, so we'll get that cranked up and on stream too on WEOL.com. But best of luck to EC this year. We appreciate you coming out tonight.
Well, we appreciate it, and I just want to say good luck to all the Lorain County schools this year. We'll be rooting for you as long as we don't play you. So
makes a lot of sense to me, Coach.
But thank you. You guys have been great, and we appreciate the coverage, and good luck to you guys as well.
Thanks, Dave. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. Dave Stufka, head coach of Elyria Catholic, joining us here at the table at Wolfie's. He's one of many that'll be talking about their teams and their programs in the upcoming year as we get it started here at Wolfie's. It's our 2016 high school football preview show. It's presented by Nick Abraham, Elyria Ford. They're right across the street here in Elyria. And again, we're going to be here until 9 o'clock tonight. All sorts of folks filing in, a few more coaches, so a quick timeout. When we come back, we'll continue to talk high school football. So stay with us on AM 930 WEOL on your phone. I see some folks right now listening on their phone via the WEOL mobile app. And Rob, we're online
at WEOL.com.
Inspiring city and campus. Inspiring people. Inspiring creativity. Inspiring hands-on learning. Inspiring global experiences. Inspiring traditions. Be a Buckeye. Inspire.
And we are live here at Wolfie's. We're going to be here until 9 o'clock tonight for the WEOL Nick Abraham High School Football Preview Show. The 2016 season kicks off 1 week from Friday. And, of course, we'll be out there in full force on WEOL and on the WEOL mobile app, WEOL.com. Our radio game 1 week from Friday will be over at Midview. Yours truly, along with Bob Tomaszewski, and Gary Pelter down on the sidelines to bring you Lorain High taking on the Midview Middies. Our Stream 2 game on WEOL.com and on that mobile app, Stream 2, Elyria Catholic. You just heard their head coach, Dave Stupka, over at Brookside to take on the Cardinals. Their head coach, Paul Ferguson, will join us here in just a couple of seconds. And on Stream 3, a week from Friday, in the Medina County matchup on Stream 3, it'll be Highland and Brunswick. So a week from Friday, it all gets underway. And, of course, we'll start it off Friday night at 5 o'clock with the football forecast. Yours truly. And Matt Douglas this year will be doing the football forecast with me. So Matt Douglas and I will have the football forecast starting at 5. And then those 3 games will get underway at 6:30 with the pregame show. Take you right up until about 10:15. And then the scoreboard show will get underway shortly after 10 o'clock. And Jacob Corrigan will be hosting the scoreboard show this year on WEOL and again on the internet and on the mobile app. So a week from Friday, we're going to get it cranked up. But we're talking high school football tonight just to kind of get ourselves in the mood. Now for Rob and I and the cast of thousands that we have here from WEOL and everywhere else, it's our first chance to really get in and talk football. But for the coaches, they've been going at it for a while now.
Absolutely, and officially I was at August 1st, but as you know, when they start lifting weights in January, February, and going through all that, and the 7-on-7s, and yada, yada, yada. Probably it's a 12-month deal now, huh, Coach?
Absolutely. We actually started in December, so I mean, it goes and goes and goes, and then once August finally hits, it's go time. So we're excited, and all that other stuff's great, but once August hits, it's time.
Well, we're talking to Paul Ferguson, the head coach of the Brookside Cardinals, as he joins us here at the head table. And Coach, coming off that first year as the head coach, how much easier, I guess, if that's the term to use, do you expect year 2 to be than year 1? Just now that you have that first year under your belt.
Yeah, it's you know what to expect, at least a little bit. You get that first year is you get a fire hose put on you, and it never stops. So paperwork, fundraisers, dealing with parents, dealing with the athletic directors or administrators. But I have a great set of parents, great cast of administrators, and I don't know if it's easier, but your expectations, and you're more familiar with the kids, and they know what to expect from you, and they understand the practice routine in year 2, and the offense and defense is similar. They understand the verbiage, so things are not such a big install this year. Instead of now we're moving a little quicker, and we're definitely ahead of where we were last year.
I will say one thing right out of the chute. You seem much more at ease here tonight than you were a year ago. You seemed a little bit nervous last year.
I was nervous
you got that first year under your belt.
Yeah.
Now you're ready to go.
Yeah, I should have put something about the media. That's what to expect from the media and you guys.
Oh, we're not all that bad.
You guys are great.
Well, hey, let's talk about your team. Brookside Cardinals 2016. Give us your expectations of your ball club.
I have high expectations. This is the way I've kind of grown up, and I've had success as a player and some as a coach. And we had some success last year. And that, I was assistant coach the year before, so we went 5-5, 6-4, and we don't look to take any steps back. So we're looking to at least get 7, 8, 9, and finally reach that goal of that PAC championship and those playoffs for the first time in school history.
To get to 6-4 last year, I would think that's a big improvement. And now it's got to be one thing. Now you can tell the kids, it's not that you're trying to grasp to get there. You can show them, guys, we were right there at 6 wins. I would think, does that make it an easier sell going forward?
Absolutely. You got to have success in the past to kind of sell what you're talking about. And that 5-5 and 6-4 was, I'm not going to lie, it was from that senior class that them being juniors and then them being seniors last year. So there's a lot of gaps to fill and a lot of shoes to fill. But those guys saw what it took, and I have 3 players that pretty much started sophomore and junior year with those seniors last year, so they know what it takes, and the underclassmen are really following those three players.
Take a minute or two and talk about key personnel. Who are some guys this year that you expect to step up and play a big role for the Cardinals?
So I'll start with those 3 players that I was just mentioning. Would be Michael Kovacs. He's a 2-year starter, going to be his 3-year starter. He's our left tackle and defensive tackle. He's got great feet. He moves well, and he's about just the most coachable player I've ever coached, or even when I played, I never seen anybody as coachable as him. He says he's a yes sir, no sir kind of guy. He buys in, and he does the right things. He shows up on time, and you just count on him. And he's a great leader. He's kind of a lead by example kind of guy. Doesn't say much, but when he says something, people listen, and that's coaches included. The next guy would be Tim Ackerman. He's another 3-year starter. He's been a linebacker, and he's played some offensive line, and then we moved him to tight end, and then this year he's going to be our running back. So he's a bigger boy. We're going to try to run that ball and kind of control that clock. And he's another guy who shows up. He's a leader, and the kids kind of look forward to what he's doing and what he's going to do. And the next guy would be Kevin Decato. He's another 3-year starter. He's on our offensive tackle, our offensive guard, and defensive end. He just shows up. He's more of a vocal leader, and he makes plays. He sets that edge, and he's a great puller. So he's going to be on our pulling side of the line and try to kick some people out and try to lead right through them.
Having the success that you had last year, did that lead to a positive offseason? What are the numbers like? I would think going 6-4 had to have the kids excited, getting ready for this year.
Yeah, our numbers are a little bit up, not as much as I want them to be. We lost a couple kids to grades, lost a couple kids that had success in other sports and wanted to, do the focus on the one sport thing. But other than that, I think we have a solid core of kids. We're up to about 35, closer to 40. So, I think we're right where we want to be. I tell the kids we're a tight-knit group. Some teams will have 80, and we might have 40, but I think we're a tighter kind of family. And last year we went out. I was telling we go out to Firelands, and they have about 80 kids. I mean, we look and they just keep coming out of that gate. I'm like, holy cow, how many of those guys? And we got about 30. And
corn-fed.
Yeah, and big. And they got some big boys. So, and halftime we're winning the game, and and they eventually beat us by a score. But we were in the game the whole time. So sure, numbers help, but if you got the right personnel and the right group, catch some breaks, and get a couple bounces, then you'll be in any game that you want to be in.
Again, we're talking with Paul Ferguson, head coach at Brookside, as he joins us here at Wolfie's, part of our Nick Abraham Elyria Ford High School football preview show. Paul, you mentioned that you learned some things as a head football coach. For the kids who are coming back from last year's team, what do you think they learned?
I think they learned to be, just like I preached earlier, just be a family. Handle adversity. Adversity is going to hit. I mean, people are going to get hurt. We've already had to deal with a couple rough injuries that, we counted on those players probably going both ways, or players that we thought were going to come out that were ineligible, or playing other sports. So it's pretty much the next man up. There's no hanging your head and you kind of staying down. You got to go to the next play. So I think they learned the next play mentality, or the next guy up mentality, and kind of being mentally tough and sticking together as a group and having success, and getting better each week by week. We're never trying to stay the same. At each practice you come to play and you compete, and no spot is safe. I tell these seniors, even if you're a 2-year starter, 3-year starter, you have to earn your spot. So that's the expectations I set for my players.
What's it going to take the next step for Brookside? I see last year you're basically in the middle of the, pardon the pun, middle of the pack in the pack. What do you think it's going to take to get, past the Firelands, past the Buckeye, maybe to get your goal, get to the top of the league and possibly a playoff berth?
Yeah, I think it just takes preparation. You got to know what you're doing. You got to do your job. You got to do your 1/11th on defense. We preach that on defense. Do your job. Don't try to steal the show. Tim Ackerman, I'm sure, could maybe do his own thing and get maybe 20 tackles. But if he does his job and gets his 15 tackles, then we might win that, have a better chance of winning that game, other than him doing what he wants to do. So doing your job, being prepared, being mentally prepared, I think is the biggest thing. And like I said early, catching some breaks, staying healthy, and those things always have a good way to help you get over that edge, over that hump. It's easier said than done to get over that hump, but that's what it takes. I think it's a lot of mental part of the game.
Coach, real quick, you got about a minute left. Rob has your game a week from Friday, opening up against a pretty good tradition program in EC over at your place. Your thoughts on week one?
Well, we were at the All-Star game, and EC was obviously it was at EC, and they were talking winning programs. I think EC had one of the higher years in a row being a winning program, and then the next statement was, and Brookside with the first winning record in over like 10 or 11 years. So there's something to be said about that, with the good and the bad. So obviously their tradition right now, as of late, is better than ours. But we like where we are, and I think it's a great school to open up with. They're a Lorain County team. Sometimes they take some of our kids, so it'd be great to get a shot at some of those kids that that should be playing with us, and hopefully we can compete with them and we can get a win and be 1-0.
There you go. Well, again, Rob has that game a week from Friday, so we look forward to having it on WEOL.com. Best of luck in year 2. Like I said, you seem much more relaxed here at the table tonight.
I'm more relaxed coach some days.
There you go. Hey, good luck this year. Look forward to talking to you.
Thanks, guys.
No problem. Paul Ferguson, head coach of Brookside, joining us here at the table. Boy, the cameras just keep growing. Now I got Matt Lodi here. Boy, he was down at Progressive Field earlier today. Now he's up at Wolfie shooting video. Joe Bach from WLCS TV 20. I think Matt Douglas had us going live on the WEOL Facebook page for a while. And it's a radio show.
It's a big deal when Matt Lodi shows up. I mean, this is a big deal.
He's still not wearing pants. All right, let's take a timeout. It's the WEOL Nick Abraham Elyria Ford High School Football Preview Show. We're live at Wolfie's. He is wearing shorts. We're on AM 930 WEOL. We're on your phone with the WEOL mobile app. Bach's not wearing pants either. And Rob, thank God people can't see it.
And we're at WEOL.com, and we are wearing pants.
I started mentoring my mentee, Dontre, 4 years ago. I always thought about doing it. It always seemed like a good idea.
We were both nervous when we first met, but everything kind of fell into place.
Mentoring is important to anyone that's pretty fortunate in life to have a little bit of time to pass on that knowledge.
Etienne's a very close friend. I look at him as a brother and a father figure. He taught me just focus on the big picture because I would like to give back just like Etienne gave back to me. be someone who matters to someone who matters.
And we welcome you back. It's the WEOL High School Football Preview Show presented by Nick Abrahami, Lyria Ford, Tim Elkhorn, along with Rob Polinsky. Tim Gebhardt's down here getting stories. I knew Tim would show up. He's been looking for the coaches all summer long. Tim finally texted me a couple of days ago, said, when's your preview show? Monday night. Oh, I'll be there. He just comes in, gets all his previews done here in one night.
Well, that's a lot more notice than Bach gave us.
Well, that's true.
It was like 4:45.
Like I said, we got all sorts of people roaming around here at Wolfie's, and it's a very good thing. Ian McClin is here. When North Ridgeville's biggest fan is here, you know it's going to be a good night at Wolfie's. The Mad Dog's in the house. My goodness, they just keep rolling in. Javier, all these folks.
The operative word there on some of those might be rolling.
Yes, that's true. Of course, Joe Bach from WLCS TV 20, Lorain City Schools Television. Oh, now he's going to show a little gam. You understand, he has not turned the camera around because that's not something you will see on the WLCS TV 20 YouTube channel. I may have to shoot some video of that next time he tries to pull that one out.
Well, they won't get the 600,001 viewers if you do.
That is true. All right, let's get off the legs and get back to football, because joining us here at the head table at Wolfie's, and we'd love you to join us as well, Rob DeRay, the head coach of the Vermilion Sailors. Vermilion going into a new league this year. Their nomadic existence comes to an end this fall. Boy, the schedule they have played the past couple of years. Every week I would call Rob for the forecast show and go, what 3-hour bus ride are you taking this year? Or this week, excuse me. But a new league, Sandusky Bay Conference, and obviously I would think that lends a lot of excitement to the Vermilion Sailor football program. Rob, great to have you on. Your thoughts on that?
First of all, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. When we talk about, our 2016 season and head into the SBC, it's good to have a home.
Yeah.
I took over 4 years ago, and we were in the West Shore Conference. Then we went from the West Shore Conference to independent for 2 years.
Ugh.
Then last year we played in the Greater Cleveland Conference, which I think I call it the Parma School Conference, but the Parma schools and EC, obviously a little closer to home, which was good. So I travel out to Ontario, et cetera. But, at the end of the day, our administration has done a great job in trying to get us into a conference that makes sense, both geographically, and competitively. And, it's a humbling experience for us. The SBC is just, a conference, great football schools, very rich, in history, rich history and tradition with the SBC. It's an absolute honor, for us to be part of it. We look forward to playing in it for many years to come.
Well, let's talk about your football team. We know what conference you're now going to be in. Talk about your 2016 team. What are your expectations with this group, Rob?
When I look at the 2016 Sailors, we graduated 14 kids last year. So we had 14 seniors last year, and every senior really played a viable role offensively, defensively, and or special teams. So, going into the season, we're going to be very young and inexperienced. We only have 3 or 4, but actually 4 seniors right now on the team. We're going to have to rely heavily, on our sophomore and junior classes to carry the load for us offensively and defensively, and also special teams.
Rob?
Going into this year, are the kids, is there a renewed enthusiasm with them now that they realize and I don't want to say you didn't have anything to play for, because obviously you do, but when you join a league and now it's official, do you get a sense of excitement from them that they now know that they can play for a conference title?
I think it's exciting, obviously, just for our program, for our school in general. Last so many years, take nothing away from our kids. We look at not playing for something. Well, you know what? Our kids in the past played for something. We played to win, and we played obviously to, put our best foot forward all the time. What we couldn't play for was obviously conference championships, as well as individual accolades that went with the conferences, all conference honors, et cetera. So, it's great to be able to strive for those. Obviously, team first no matter what. But at the end of the day, we set our team goals for our kids. But obviously kids also will have their personal goals that they try to accomplish, and it's obviously our job to, as a coaching staff, to help those kids accomplish those individual goals. And obviously some of our kids have set out goals to be all conference, especially some of our juniors and kids that have played with no conference the last couple of years. So I would definitely say there's a renewed energy, but at the end of the day, our kids are there and they're going to do the best they can.
I've seen your non-conference games. You still have Clearview and Firelands. How important is going to be keeping those Lorain County teams in your non-conference going forward?
As we look forward, and our schedule has been set for the next, I think it's about 2019 or so. We will always have Firelands until hell freezes over.
You better.
So we're always going to have Firelands no matter what, and that's obviously our rival game. And then with those two other independent schedules, yes, this year is Clearview and Fairview. However, this year will be the last year that we play Clearview and Fairview. Next year we go to Oberlin and Brookside. So we're staying within Lorain County to a point which makes sense for us to play those schools. It's great competition, and obviously the PAC, it's a good fit for us to be playing those schools.
Again, we're talking with Rob DeRay, head coach of Vermilion, as they move into the Sandusky Bay Conference this fall. Sailors coming off a 4-6 campaign. Rob, you mentioned a pretty young group, not a lot of seniors on this team, but who needs to step up? Who will be some leaders for your football team this year?
We're going to be very young at most skill positions. Right now, when we look at the offensive side of the ball, Seth Hurd is going to be a sophomore, and right now he's our starting quarterback. There's a competition behind him. Addison Painter, who also is a sophomore, is doing a great job as well. Right now, Seth's our number one. He's just done a great job, and he's a great leader. And we're going to have to look to Seth as a sophomore to step up, be ready for Friday nights, and lead our offense. Skill positions offensively, we're looking at Jonah File. He's a sophomore. Eli Balick's a junior receiver. Kane Zanoni is a returning running back for us. He has started for us for the last 2 years since he was a freshman, so now he's going to be a junior. He'll carry the load for us running the football with the help of a senior named Zach Anderson. Zach transferred in from Open Door last year, and he didn't get much of a varsity look last year. However, in the offseason, he packed on about 30 pounds, increased his speed and track, and he's one of our biggest and fastest skill kids we have. So right now he's sharing carries with Kane, and then other receivers we're looking at is Trevor Boyd, who is a junior, Luke Penna, who's a sophomore, and Davis McDaniel does another slot for us, sophomore as well. And then our tight ends, we're looking at senior Caleb Kasky and junior Ethan Habermill. So obviously one thing that stands out is sophomore.
And I was just going to say, when you have a young team like that, Coach, I would imagine that puts even more emphasis on your scrimmages. Hey, we got to find out how these guys react. They're going to get hit at the varsity level. How have they responded? What have you seen in your scrimmages?
We went to Independence last Tuesday for our first really hitting an ugly colored jersey. And,
I like that.
I thought some of the young kids responded well. Obviously, we have a lot of work to do. Last Friday, we scrimmaged Brookside. I know you just signed with Brookside previously. We scrimmaged Brookside last Friday. So, I think our young kids transitioning these scrimmages, I think they did a really good job transitioning. What we need to really worry about is not only the young kids, but up front. Up front, we do have a couple seniors and juniors and sophomores, but, the football is going to be one in the trenches, and we need to get better, definitely in the trenches, that's for sure.
Tell us how good this team can be. Once those young kids kind of get the feel of playing under the lights and get the feel of how quickly the varsity game is played, how good can this team be?
From my perspective, looking at the last 4 years, skill-wise, it's the best group of skills that I've had since I've been there. Now, that being said, they're also 15 years old, most of them. So how quickly can they grow up is going to determine how successful the Sailors are going to be in 2016. And then, like I said, up front, we definitely got to get better up front and to control those trenches to have a chance to be successful.
Coach, we appreciate you coming on. I know we've got that Firelands game, the one that's never going to go away. We've got that game on WEOL this year. But, again, congratulations on getting into the SBC. That's as you said, that's a great conference. It's a great fit for you guys. It'll be nice to talk to you on the Forecast show throughout the weeks and talk about a local game with some local interest and not a long bus ride for you.
Looking forward to that. Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob. We appreciate it. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Rob DeRay, the head coach of the Vermilion Sailors, joining us here at the table. Tell you what, we're going to keep it right here. We'll get Luke Durbin over, the head coach of North Ridgeville, to join us. And, of course, North Ridgeville in the Southwestern Conference, they're going to be christening a brand spanking new stadium this fall. Ian McClinn's got to be so fired up about that. But really, the whole North Ridgeville community has to be excited. I know they've had some things up on Twitter and Facebook. The games have already started there as far as soccer and the like. So it'll be exciting for the North Ridgeville community and exciting for the Ranger football program. And Luke Durbin, the head coach of North Ridgeville, now joins us at the table to talk a little bit about the Ranger football program here in 2016 and moving into that brand spanking new facility. Luke, as always, we appreciate you stopping by. Sorry to make you wait, but hey, a lot of coaches are here tonight. We're trying to get to you guys as quickly as we can.
It's not a problem. I always love coming out, enjoy the food. I brought another coach with me, so it's a good evening out.
Well, as you were working your way over, I don't know if you heard, I was talking a little bit about this beautiful new facility that North Ridgeville's moving into this year. We just got done talking with Rob DeRay from Vermilion. His kids are excited about going into a new conference. And when you're going into a brand new facility, that's got to get the juices flowing for a team as well.
Oh, definitely, and I think it's possibly the top stadium in our conference.
Wow. That's saying something.
When you put together home and away seating and state of the art, the field's fantastic. The press box is amazing. When you guys do a game there, it's got heating and air conditioning. So
we're coming.
Yeah, every game.
We're the home of the Rangers
now. So it really is. It's a beautiful facility. It's something the community can really get behind, and it's really exciting. It's only partially done. The locker room, the new weight room, that's all still in construction. That's right behind it. It's even got an elevator up to the press box, but that won't be done for a year because it's attached to the building. So you have to walk this year. Next year, though, you don't even have to walk up the bleachers.
Oh, man. Well, hey, brand spanking new facility. And again, congratulations to North Ridgeville and the whole community and the program. But obviously, you want to put an exciting product on the field as well. You want to have that kind of match the new facility. Talk about the Rangers in 2016. What are we going to see from this team?
Well, first of all, we want to build on what we did last year. So we had a very successful season. We went 7-3. We made the playoffs for only the second time in school history, but we're not satisfied. We didn't win conference, and we didn't win a playoff game. And those are things that need to change, and hopefully they change this year. We've got one of two teams in the conference with quarterback back in Colin Solinger. Got two of the best, I think, defensive players, maybe in Northeast Ohio, and Tyler Sitch, who was second-team All-State, and Jameer Malone, who I think is just going to explode. He's both those guys are fantastic, and they're early juniors. We've got some guys that can run the football. None of them like DeMario, but we can't replace a guy like that. But we got some options back there. So I think we're going to be well balanced. I think we return a lot of guys on the offensive and defensive line, and I think we got a shot to be a really good football team.
Luke, I remember talking to you throughout the year last year on the Forecast show, and as heartbroken as everybody was about the ups and downs that DeMario had, and he really couldn't showcase his skills, you looked at it from the other side of the coin and said, yeah, it's tough, but our guys are learning to win without DeMario, and that's instilling some confidence in them to say, God, we really miss him, but we can do this. And I would imagine that's carried into this year.
It's made the transition so much better. Obviously last year we would have loved to have him for all 11 games that we played. Going into this year, it's a good situation we're at. I mean, the very first week last year, week 1, we had people in our school that flat out did not believe we could win without you. Are you sure you can win without him? Really? Are you sure? And our kids had to convince themselves that they could win without him. He was a one-man show for 2 years. And, we really we had to play a lot without him. We had to get a lot of other guys shots to play different positions. It wasn't just him. We had lots of injury trouble. And last year we just continually had people that would step up and play when the number got called. And if you got people that do that, you've got a chance to have a very successful season.
There you go, Rob.
And you had injury problems even in the playoff game. I remember going to Perrysburg last year, and you hung with them, and then you had DeMario got hurt, a couple other injuries, but I know for a while they're on the road. You guys hung with a very good football team. Just talk about this. How does that experience maybe change expectations at a school that hasn't had a lot of playoff experience or success?
Well, it was basically nothing with about 4 minutes left in the half, and we had a couple bad turnovers back-to-back and ended up going down 14-0, and that changed that game. But when you look at it, we closed the year with giving Midview their best game, and by far their best game. And in the playoffs, we were the ones that really kind of stifled Perrysburg for a little bit and had some success, especially after you look what they did to Avon and to Glenville, and losing a very, very tight game to LaSalle, who ended up winning the state championship. We were right there with them for a half. So I think you look at building on that success and taking the next step. Hopefully that's the conference championship and a home game in the playoffs and the first ever playoff win.
How much confidence does this team now have, having gone through that last year, having been through the experience that Rob just talked about? Or do you see somewhat of a different attitude in camp this summer?
I do. I think more guys know that they've got a chance to make plays and do some things. Last year it was even our own players some of them were worried it was just going to be the DeMario McCall show, and would they get a chance? And we ended up having to spread the ball around, throw the ball, run the ball, be balanced, and that's going to continue into this year. It's the way it is. So we're going to have multiple guys run the football. We're going to have multiple guys that we're going to have to throw the ball to. A lot of guys are going to have their hands on the ball, and hopefully they step up just like they did last year.
Who'd you scrimmage, and what has it shown you?
Well, we just had one scrimmage. We actually did something really cool. We did a youth night, or we did a football night in North Ridgeville. So we had youth and middle school and varsity all practicing at the same time. So we had 1st through 12th graders practicing in the new stadium all at once, and did kind of an inter-squad scrimmage instead of a first scrimmage. This Saturday we scrimmaged Brush, who is a pretty athletic team, probably a little bit more athletic than what we'll typically see in the regular season. So it was a good test. It was no huddle, and we huddle. We're the old school. So it was good for our defense to, see that pace. And it is what I thought it would be. Up front, I think we're good. Running backs, linebackers, we got some talent. The real danger area is wide receivers and defensive backs. We have 2 players coming back that caught passes. Each of them caught 1 pass. And we graduated 3 out of our 4 starters in the secondary. So those skill positions that they needed to learn, they need to be thrown into the fire, and that's really the area that we need to continue to work on and grow.
There you go. Numbers pretty good this year?
Numbers are pretty good. We're between 60 and 65 depending on the day.
Depending on the heat.
Yeah. Do we have a 2-a-day, or are we going to long practice but be done early? But I think we got a lot of guys bought in. For the first time in my 3 years, we've got competition all over the place. We've got competition for almost every single offensive line spot. We've got competition at tailback. We've got competition on wide receivers. We've got 4 different guys. We still don't know who's the tight end's going to be, but we got 4 guys competing for it. So whenever you've got competition on your team, that's only going to breed success.
There you go.
How do you see the league?
I see. Well, first of all, you got to tip your hat to Midview and Avon, and they're still the top dogs until somebody else knocks them off. That's the bottom line. I think Olmsted Falls returns a good core, and they play a brand of football. It's different, kind of hard to adjust to. I think we got a shot to make a run at it. I think it could be a little open. I think last year's senior class across the board was really good. You look at North Olmsted, Avon, Midview, ourselves, even Olmsted Falls. There was a lot of good players in the senior class that are all gone. So who's going to have the guys that step up and play and be able to be the new playmakers, the DeMario McCalls, the Logan Bolins, the Jake Sobkos, the Jarrett Chokes, guys we've been talking about for 3 years. They're no longer playing high school football. So I think that really opens the conference up more than it has been, and it's going to be up for grabs. But like I said, you got to knock off those 2 top dogs to have a chance.
There you go. Great having you here tonight, man.
Oh, love being here.
Looking forward to covering you throughout the year and talking to you every week, be it on a Friday or a Saturday morning. That's when it's
especially
really good
Saturday. Hopefully we talk 10 Saturdays in a row and then a couple after that.
There you
preferably
go, man.
5 after that.
Wouldn't get any better than that.
No,
man.
not at all.
We appreciate you stopping by.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Luke. Luke Durbin, the head coach of North Ridgeville, joining us here at the head table. First hour has flown by. In fact, we went a little over on that first hour, but that's a good thing. That means we got a lot of coaches here tonight ready to talk high school football here at Wolfies. Great to have them with us. Great to have you with us via the airwaves of AM 930 WEOL, maybe on the mobile app, or Rob, online
at WEOL.com.
Which of the angles on the board are the one from the quiz on Friday? Jaden?
Research shows more and more 12 to 15-year-olds have arteries similar to that of a 45-year-old. But it doesn't have to be that way. Don't let your children grow up too fast. Encourage them to act their age through regular exercise and healthy eating.
And we welcome you back to Wolfie's Bistro and Pub. Boy, the first hour just flew right by, and now we move into hour number 2 of our high school football preview. It's presented by Nick Abraham, Elyria Ford, our good friends right across the street, Chuck Sturgill, Chad Whitaker, and everybody over at Nick Abraham, Elyria Ford. Glad to have them on board again as our presenting sponsor. Huge thank you to them. And again, big thank you to everybody here at Wolfies, treating the coaches so very, very well, and everybody here from WEOL. Boy, I think a lot of folks are here from WEOL. Tom Evans just strolled in. He'll be with us throughout the year as far as broadcasting high school football. Tom O. Bob Tomaszewski is here. Jared Kozar is here. Three-Wheeled Z. Matt Douglas. Joe Bach from WLCS TV 20. Not really a WEOL employee, but my goodness, he ties into our audio enough. He just kind of comes in and steals our audio while he comes here and tapes the show tonight.
Matt Lodi's here.
Matt Lodi.
You could practically have a staff meeting here tonight.
Yeah, we're not doing that. But we are going to give away a 4-pack of tickets to Frankie Ballard at the Lorain County Fair. So for those of you that are thinking, man, I'd love to go see Frankie Ballard next week at the Lorain County Fair, well, we're going to do it right now. Here's a 4-pack on the line. All you got to do is call the station, and the very best in the business, Alan Calcaterra, will take your call, 322-0930 or 246-0930. Again, 322-0930, 246-0930. Alan Calcaterra is going to take the very first caller, 246-0930, 322-0930. First caller, you've got a 4-pack to see Frankie Ballard at the Lorain County Fair next week. All right, let's talk a little more football because the coaches indeed are showing up tonight. Great turnout. We're trying to get to them as quickly as we can. One of our favorites on AM 930 WEOL is Kevin Fell, the head coach of Elyria High. Boy, we go back a long, long way talking to Coach Fell on these preview shows and forecast shows and Nick Abraham Saturday morning wrap-up shows. So, Kevin, this is old hat to you.
Yeah, we've been here ever since Wolfies was a pup, you know. It's like,
I love it. Well, high expectations for Elyria this year. I read Tim Gebhardt's preview in the Chronicle. I know you shared some things with me for the article that I have in the Forecast magazine. You're going into this year thinking this could be a pretty good season.
you know, Tim, we have to go back a year when we went into last year thinking that we probably were going to be a pretty average football team, and we really were a pretty average football team for a long time. Halfway through the season, we had some kids that kind of just decided they wanted to be better than just average, and we got a little better at the end of last year. And fortunately, those kids are back. Now, how we react this year will be real interesting because we do have a lot of those kids back, and on paper, we're a pretty good-looking football team, but as we've proven for the last 2 weeks, you don't play football on paper. We have to go out and actually learn to do it.
But we've talked in years past, when you go into a season with so many experienced guys, with seasoned veterans, not that the summer isn't important, but it does make that transition a little bit easier, agree?
One thing for sure, especially in the GCC that we're in, you can't play with young kids. you can play with them, and they may be great talents, but they're going to get their lumps, And if you get kids a year or two later after that, then we're a better football team. And we took some shots last year. Our kids are a little older, a little bigger, and we'll probably be better overall as a team. But I will tell you the truth, Tim. We could be a really good football team in a 5-5 disguise because we've got a lot of schedule and a lot of people to play.
When you say that, believe us, we do believe you, Coach. We do know that about you. You said that last year, halfway through the year, your kids decided we want to be better than average. Is that unusual for that to happen?
Well, a little history there. We came back from Brunswick, who hadn't won a game all year, and beat us over at Brunswick. And on the way home, we had some incidents on the buses and things, and we just kind of cleaned up the place and went from an 80-man team to a 60-man team, and we've been a better football team ever since. And I think a lot of that is attributed to the kids that just said, we're better football players than this, and it became a little more of a job to them as opposed to just an activity. And I've been real proud of our kids the last year. It's how hard they've worked and how they've kind of dedicated themselves to play. Now it's their chance to go out and maybe try to prove that it's worthwhile.
Again, we're talking with Kevin Fell, head coach of the Elyria Pioneers, who joins us here at the head table as we are at Wolfie's for our 2016 high school football preview show. Kevin, just talk personnel. Who are some guys this year that are really going to play key roles for this Pioneer football team?
Well, I think most people that follow us know that we've got a lot of kids back offensively. We've got our skill guys that everybody knows about, but we have an offensive line. Tyler Snyder is our center, 3-year starter. Dylan Woodings, Jalen White, Tank. We've got all kinds of guys that are back and have played there for 2 years, and they took their lumps at the beginning of last year. Then we have Chris Atkinson, who's got the chance, according to Tim, to be the all-time leading rusher in Elyria school history, which is saying something for a running back, And we have this junior quarterback, Dante, who, potentially very good. He's very active. He's played well in scrimmages, but he's still only got 10 games under his belt, 11 games under his belt, so he'll get nothing but better. But Beckett's going to be probably potentially one of the better athletes that have been around this area for a while.
Last year I had your opening game over at Avon Lake, and I know that was a game where you guys had a lot of mistakes, but you still found a way to win. And I know you were probably pulling your hair out that night with those young guys, but was that how your year kind of went? You had some bad things, but yet you were able to overcome it. At the end of the day, you made the playoffs.
Actually, that game was not really indicative. Most of the time after that, they went the other way. But somewhere along the line, we started to play. And we played a really good Euclid team right down to the wire. Got beat in the last second when we dropped the ball. We played a really good Solon team right down to the wire and got beat. Then we played Strongsville, who was a pretty good football team, and beat them. And then we played Menor, who was a pretty good football team, and beat them. And then we had Olentangy, which we probably should have beaten. And I think it's a funny game. If you learn to play it right, don't make mistakes, have a little confidence in yourself, I think you can play with anybody, no matter who you are. And we started to do that. Now we come out this year and it's all new again, but I can still see it in their eyes. They know how to play. We just got to bring it out in there.
Coach, the Olentangy game, as much as it was a tough loss, how much can your kids now feed off that? Because I'm sure that was an us against the world mentality. You're going down there to play a pretty good football program. You come back home, and a lot of times those losses can just gnaw at you through an off season. Do you sense that it kind of fueled your kids somewhat?
We made the playoffs. Nobody thought we should have been in the playoffs. We were playing a team that was ranked 3rd or 4th in the state.
Yep.
And at the end of the game, I know our kids looked at each other and said, they weren't any better than we were. We just made mistakes and they didn't. And I think they realized that, they can play with anybody. And I will tell you this, and I've learned this in Elyria after 5 years, that you never want to really count Elyria out. We can lose with anybody, and we can beat anybody too. And we once in a while, and we do what we're supposed to do, we'll play a pretty good football game.
You've told me many times on the Forecast show since you've been in Elyria, our kids rise up when nobody thinks they can win. It's when they're the favorite that they kind of level off. But you've said when their backs are to the wall, your kids rise up.
There's no doubt we are very poor front runners, and we are pretty good when we're down. And I think a lot of that is just our mentality that when we get winning, we think we're pretty good, and sometimes we have to learn, And our kids are funny, but I love them. They're the kind of guys that, it's been hotter than, the last 2 weeks, and they don't even know it. They just think it's fun to go out there and practice. And coaches are dying, everybody's dying. They're just out there playing. And that's just kind of the way we are. We're not as tough mentally as teams I've had in the past, but, I think you can learn to be that way. And physically, I think, they'll be tough. I'd be remiss without talking about Brendan Price, our safety who's back, and Cam King, our defensive lineman. Those are two guys, and Jalen Glover, guys on defense that have played there for 3-4 years. And they're good football players, and they make us a lot better football team. Last year we had a really nice defense, and we got new guys coming in, but those guys have stepped up and played really well for us.
I'm just going to say, I'm looking at the stat here. You only gave up 17 points a game last year. I mean, in today's high school football world, that's a pretty doggone good defense.
There were times last year I thought that was one of the best defenses I've ever been associated with. We stopped Menor 7 times in the second and third quarter last year in a game that, I saw them get 60 against Ignatius, there are times we can play. We got to get back to that level, I think.
There you go. Coach, we got to take a timeout. Always good to see you up here. Now, I know you got a little bit of a ride home, but you can listen to the rest of the show.
I can't wait to hear it, Tim. Thank you very much.
Always good to talk to you, my friend.
All
Thanks,
right.
Kevin. Kevin Fell, the head coach of the Elyria High Pioneers, joining us here at the head table. High expectations for Elyria as they get ready for the 2016 season. And as he said, they've got some weapons returning. That could be a fun offense to watch. All right, quick timeout. I think Dave DeLugas is up next. Yes, the head coach of the Shoremen will join us. We'll also announce our Frankie Ballard ticket winner. We'll see who won those tickets. So stay with us. It's the WEOL Nick Abraham High School Football Preview. We are live at Wolfie's. There's a cast of thousands. And yours truly, Tim Elkhorn and Rob Polinsky, bringing it to you on AM 930 WEOL. On that WEOL mobile app. Great way to listen on your phone, and Rob online.
At WEOL.com.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Yes, for a nicer day, huh?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Gonna get some big ones. Anybody want to wear a life jacket?
I'm good.
No life jacket? That's a deal breaker.
Daddy, you promised.
Daniel Stevens.
Yeah, give me one of those life jackets.
This message brought to you by the National Safe Boating Council and the women who nag you. Love you.
We welcome you back to Wolfie's as we continue to roll along with our Nick Abraham Elyria Ford 2016 high school football preview. Number one, we thank everybody here at Wolfie's for treating us so very, very well. We thank the folks at Nick Abraham Elyria Ford for once again being our presenting sponsor. Thank the coaches for coming on out and exercising some patience here tonight. Boy, they were anxious to get here, and so we've got a backlog. It's like planes coming into Hopkins. They're circling and circling, trying to wait to get on the show, Rob.
I never saw as many that we had as early as we had. And Dave DeLugas is one of them, and appreciate all of them coming out. Like you said, their patience.
Hey, real quick before we get to the head coach of the Shoremen, let us congratulate our winner of the 4 tickets to see Frankie Ballard next week at the Lorain County Fair, as our winner is Scott Sukey, S-U-K-E-Y. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Scott. Scott Sukey of Elyria. You've got a 4-pack of tickets to see Frankie Ballard at the Lorain County Fair. By the way, we are not done with that ticket giveaway. We've got a couple of more opportunities to win a 4-pack of tickets courtesy of the good folks at the Lorain County Fair. So we thank them for that. All right, now let's get to Dave DeLugas, the head coach of the Shoremen from Avon Lake. And, of course, one of the storied programs in Lorain County. You talk great tradition. You're talking Avon Lake football. Although, Dave, you'd be the first to admit the past couple of years certainly hasn't lived up to that tradition. And yet people that I talk to say you've got a pretty good class coming. So 2016 perhaps gets back to where you're used to being?
Well, the last 2 years, as you mentioned before, I thought we were 2-8 and 4-6, and it certainly wasn't up to my standards, wasn't up to our community standards, and certainly not our ball player standards. But this year, we see a tremendous amount of improvement so far. We really like what we've got in our skill position players, and our line, though, is still a little bit of a work in progress. So it's really going to be determined by what's up front. You know, you hear that all the time. It's what's up front that counts. And I don't care whether you're playing in the NFL or if you're playing at the NCAA level or at the high school level. It's what's up front that counts. So that's really what we're really kind of focusing on right now.
Well, you used to always say it's those guys that stick their hands in the dirt. Now, there aren't too many stadiums left with dirt anymore, but it's those guys up front. They really create everything else, both offensively and defensively, agree?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, there's a lot of teams right now. I bet a lot of the coaches you could talk to, they have a huge concern about their linemen, and especially depth on the offensive line and defensive lines. And that's where we're at right now. You know, we've got some pretty good quality kids, but our depth is really a question. We get a couple injuries, or we get some of those real hot early September weekends, and we run into teams that are maybe 2 platoon, and we're maybe a platoon and a half type of team. That can cause some issues for us.
Take a moment and talk personnel. Who are some key guys for Avon Lake this year?
Well, a guy who's really kind of stood out above everybody else has been one of our wide receivers, Carson Toy. Carson caught 50 passes for us last year. He worked extremely hard in the offseason. He ended up going to all kinds of camps. He went to all kinds of places where he wanted to be challenged. And he's become an exceptional guy coming off the line of scrimmage. You can try to jam him. You can try to play off of him. He's become a very skilled individual that way. Our other split end is Hunter Bateman. Hunter Bateman's about 6'3" and 180 pounds, but he's a track guy. He's a 4'6" guy in the 40 and like a 51 in the 400 meters. So he can run, and he's real long and lean, and he can catch the ball. Then we've got 2 real nice slot receivers, and Zach Sable is also a real good baseball player, and Jason Sullivan. Not quite as big as the other 2, but very quick and elusive and catch the ball. So we really like what we got out in the edges there. Our quarterback is going to be Mark Pappas, and Mark is a talented individual, but he is also an individual who hasn't been really challenged yet, because this is going to be his first year as a starter. So we've been putting a lot of pressure on him in practice, and he probably feels like the coaches are on his back. But what we want to do is get him ready for the stress that's going to happen in the first couple of ball games, because our schedule is front end loaded, man. Yeah, we got to hit the ground running. We can't wait for our guys to mature, because we've got 2 playoff teams right off the top.
Well, you were reading my mind. I was going to ask, how tough does that make it to start at Elyria and then with Avon, one of your rivals? When you've had a couple of tough years and with a first-year quarterback and a group that's trying to maybe get some confidence back.
Yeah, well, I don't make the schedule, so we just go out and play them, and I make sure that that our kids, realize that there's a challenge coming up at the beginning, and you need to be prepared, and the coaches are here to help you get prepared for that. So when you feel that they may be pushing you a little bit hard or asking you a little bit more than what you think you got, there's a reason for that.
How have you guys looked so far in the preseason? How happy are you with how things have gone to this point?
We scrimmaged Medina Highland, who's typically a very, very solid program, and we're about even with them. And then we went to Medina last Friday, and it was a horrible experience. It's not because of the football either. We got hit with a storm down, so we took that nice casual trip from Avon Lake down to beautiful Medina County and Medina High School. Got hit with thunderstorms, and for that whole trip, we ended up with 10 offensive plays and about 5 defensive plays, and we kept getting thunder, and the referees wouldn't let us begin. So that's about 6 hours of my life that are basically worthless anymore. So, but and with that though, what you end up missing, you missed the whole practice day, and you didn't get any reps at the scrimmage because of that. So that's bothered us quite a bit. And then you give the kids the weekend off, so essentially you had like 3 days where they didn't do too much. So today we hit them pretty hard today.
Coach, what's your biggest concern about this team, or at least question mark, maybe the better way to term that?
Well, again, as I mentioned before, there's no doubt about it. It's going to be our fronts, both on the offensive side and the defensive side. We're not we have decent size, or maybe 235, 240s up there. We don't have those 280 pounders that we've had in the past. They're good, hard-working kids, but again, we're going to be matched against two massive offensive lines our first two games. Illyria's huge in the front, and Avon also has a very big offensive line with, I think, 4 out of the 5 starters coming back as well. So that's going to be a key, and I'm sure both Illyria and Avon know that about us too.
Coach, you mentioned the line, and obviously, in years past and decades past with you and even Tomo, I mean, Avon Lake was tailback high. I mean, we could probably rattle off 15 of them that played for Avon Lake. Has the game changed that much? Do you ever foresee that ever coming back, or has these wide open offenses and the spread offenses, are those bygone days now?
Oh, as much as the spread offenses come into vogue, the majority of people who run the spread offense, they do it to run the football. They just want to get another guy out of the box. A lot of teams are going to the zone scheme. We run some zone, but we're still, partially a power team as well. But right now it makes it maybe a touch easier because of the fact that we can get a guy out of the box via formation. And then the other thing, if they want to try to stack the box on us, as I said, I'm pretty confident in what we have on our edge guys. They're pretty good wide receivers. We protect our quarterback. Will be pretty difficult to defend.
So that power game that you love, you still foresee that being a major part of what you do at Avon Lake?
Well, if I can say this word right, everything is circuitous, all right?
Yes.
It comes to, I did it, huh? Okay, but it does run in stages like that. At one time, look at it defensively. One time, it was the good old 6-2, and then what ended up happening, it morphed into the 5-2 defense. That morphed into the 3-4 defense, which morphed into the 4-3 defense, which morphed into the 4-4 defense. And really, what's a 4-4 defense? Nothing but a 6-2 defense with 2 drop ends. So, sometimes what happens is you try to outthink yourself and try to get too fancy and go with the flavor of the month, and you forget about what you know best and what your fundamentals are.
Coach, conference-wise, Midview, Avon, North Ridgeville come into the SWC last year. They have a lot of success. How do you see the SWC shaping up this year?
Boy, the conference last year was dominated by really 3 teams, Midview, Avon, and Berea. Every team in the conference this year has holes to fill, and some of them drastic holes to fill. You take a look at Midview on paper right now, would have to be the favorite. When you got your all-state trigger man coming back, that's going to help. And plus, I know they've got a couple individuals come in from other schools to fill in some of the graduations that they've had at their wide receiver spot. North Ridgeville, again, they got their trigger man coming back too. So immediately, when you got your trigger man coming back with experience, that's going to put that favorite tag on you. Avon again is very strong up front, and a lot of times more important than the trigger man is those guys up front. They're very strong up front, but I know there's still a little bit of a question mark for them at the quarterback position as well. Let's see who we got. Olmsted Falls.
Playoff team last year.
Yeah, playoff team last year, and they've got a great big tailback coming back. God, if I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but they run that little different type of offense from what you're used to seeing. Everybody's seeing spread and getting spread out. Olmsted Falls packs everything in tight and tries to jam it off tackle and run jet sweeps with that big tailback that they got. North Olmsted graduated quite a few people. My understanding is they have quite a few linemen. They got an outstanding tailback returning a big fast kid. And I have heard that they may be going to a little bit more of a power game rather than away from the spread. And you may even see some double tight out of them and maybe even some unbalanced stuff that's going to be coming out of them as well.
It's all circuitous.
It's circuitous. It is. Let's see.
It also runs in cycles.
That was the word I was thinking of the first time. Okay. But on the other, let's see, Amherst. Amherst, I had probably had the best freshman team of anybody in the conference. That's including Midview, Avon Lake, and everybody else. But again, if you run into our conference and you're going to depend on sophomores to carry the load in the conference that we're in, that's trouble. So they're maybe a year away, maybe 2 years away, but definitely they're on the upswing right now with what we see coming. Westlake lost an outstanding tailback and Jaquan Hardy, but they have a number, I think they got 5 coming back on offense and 6 coming back on defense. The only problem that they had, of course, is they had a real small underclassmen. In fact, they didn't have a freshman team last year. Their numbers were that low.
Wow.
And so obviously that's going to play into the situation as well, but they got an outstanding coach out there, and I know a lot of guys from their coaching staff since I've been around for a while, and they have a great coaching staff, so we're going to hopefully see a bounce back from them as well.
It could be a competitive year, no doubt about it.
It's going to be real. This one's going to be one rather than the big 3. I think that's going to be maybe everybody aiming kind of at mid-view, but then there's going to be a tier of about 4 or 5 teams right below them. We're going to see what happens with that.
Good stuff. Well, I know you were patiently waiting, so we appreciate you coming out. Look forward to working with you all year long. Now, will we hear the bird in the background on the weekly interviews again this year, Dave?
It's still kicking, so you may have the bird on.
Yeah. Dave's retired, so I call him at home every week for the forecast show, and he's got a bird that when Dave's talking, that bird's chirping right along with Dave. It's one of the more entertaining interviews I do every week.
I don't know if that's the bird chirping or my wife chirping.
Well, on that note, we won't get you in any more trouble.
All right.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Dave DeLugas, the head coach of the Shoremen from Avon Lake, joining us here at Wolfies as part of our 2016 high school football preview show. And again, you'll hear Dave every week with the bird in the background.
That's
funny. Well, the first year, I think it's been a couple of years now, that bird just started chirping and chirping, and I'm like, Dave, what is going on? Well, it's like a cuckoo clock. When you live with it long enough, he's like, what are you talking about? He didn't even hear it because he's lived with this bird all the years. I'm like, man, this bird's making a racket back there. Hey, you hear anything in the forecast show, no doubt about it. All right, quick timeout. More coaches to hear from. Stay with us. We're live at Wolfies on WEOL and Rob Online.
At WEOL.com.
Hey, Luda, got a sec?
Yeah, what's up?
I'm really worried. One of my friends is living on the street.
I know someone who can help.
Who?
1-800-RUNAWAY.org. They help kids having a rough time at home, in school, or on the street. You can do a live chat on their site. They will help get her to safety.
Thanks, Ludacris.
Trust the National Runaway Switchboard. If you're having a hard time, get online or call to chat now.
And we welcome you back to Wolfies and our 2016 high school football preview. It's presented by Nick Abraham, Elyria Ford, Tim Elkhorn, along with Rob Polinsky. We are at the head table. And again, a huge thank you to everybody here at Wolfies for hosting us, and of course our friends across the street at Nick Abraham, Elyria Ford. Joe Bach, WLCS TV 20, Lorain City Schools. He's tied into our audio. You will be able to watch this entire extravaganza on the WLCS TV 20 Lorain City Schools YouTube channel. So you'll want to check that out on the YouTube channel. Joe was telling us earlier, 600,000 folks have watched their WLCS TV 20 coverage on the YouTube channel. That is unbelievable. I know Matt Lodi is here. He's got some video going for NEO Insider. Good to have Matt Lodi here. Matt Douglas, he's got Facebook going. Jason Ward, we got all this video going for a radio show. I can't quite figure this out.
I'll tell you what, you're taking it to the next level. I love it. And I got to compliment you, too. It's always great music. You start me off with a little Rage Against the Machine right here. I'm fired up, man.
Well, see, maybe Alan Calcaterra back in the studio. He kind of knows your taste a little bit.
Yeah.
Knowing Alan, believe me. he's dialed in, no doubt about it. Well, hey, here we go. Let's talk Columbia football. Certainly one of the programs in Lorain County for the past several years that has kind of reached a level of just sustained success year after year, and I would imagine that's the expectation for 2016 as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we've got to step up. Our guys, one of the things that we've talked about on this show is that I think that they are very aware of the tradition that our players have been leaving behind, the legacy that players in our program have been leaving behind over the last few years, and they want to keep that going. So we've got some fresh faces, some guys that have really waited their turn, and it's their time now. So
I mentioned to Kevin Fell when we closed out the interview with him. It was a disappointing playoff loss for Elyria against Olentangy, and I know you had a disappointing first-round playoff loss as well. Can that fuel kids? Can that really keep them motivated through weightlifting and through two-a-days and 7-on-7s? And is that seed planted there?
If it fuels them, I mean, we've had enough of those that I don't know how much gas it puts in our tank because we've had enough. If that's fuel, then we should be able to power a Boeing 747. But I don't know. We don't. That's a different sort of motivation than I think we as a staff try to preach to our guys. It's more reactive than proactive, I suppose, and we try to look for motivation from from different areas than just one game. So
when you look at this year's team, what will be different? What do you tweak, or do you say, hey, here's what's got us to the dance the last few years? I mean, how do you look at that?
Yeah, no, I think we're going to be a little bit more aggressive on defense. I think that'll stand out to our fans. They're gonna see us be a little bit more of a risk taker on defense. I think we're going to try and let our guys have some more fun on that side of the ball. And not that they haven't in the past. We've had some great defenses, but we're going to get a little bit more creative over there offensively. We've always looked at our install as kind of a golf bag. We go through the same process of installing our offense year in and year out. We might not use certain things based on our talent, but that's not to say that we don't have young guys that can do those things later on, so at least they're familiar with it. So no, it's pretty consistent process.
You've got skilled kids back. I mean, I would think offensively you feel as though you'll be pretty explosive. Talk about the offensive side of the ball and some of the kids that'll play critical roles for you there, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to start with Brandon Coleman, who I think is one of the best players in Lorain County. I mean, he's got, a lot of traffic coming through our hallways to visit him. And, as a freshman, he ran for almost 800 yards and 10 touchdowns, and he missed 3 games with an ankle injury. So he is he's special. He's special. And we've got some really good receivers to go along with him. I'm really been pleasantly surprised with our receiving core. Jared Heidecker, Austin Salika, our tight end, who can stay in at traditional tight end or flank out, and Lance Boys. I mean, we've got some really good skilled players. Mike Yakabuchi, who can go into the slot or come in and play some fullback. So, then I haven't even talked about our quarterback, who this will be his first year starting. He's a senior, but, he's really been knocking on the door. He's got great speed. He's got a good arm.
And that is?
But he knows the offense. That's Cody Schwartz, and we're excited about him. He started at corner for us all last year. He played some wide receiver, too, so he knows the offense well enough to be able to do that, and we're excited about what he brings to the table.
Rob.
The excellence that you guys have had for probably the last 10 years or so, it's one thing to do it for a year or two. Can you talk about how hard it is to sustain what you've done, and what's maybe the biggest key or two in being able to do that year after year?
Yeah, that's what I've tried to remind our kids this year too. That they set the expectations very high, and as long as they know that there's a lot of work that goes into this, you don't just roll out of bed and go 10-0. I mean, I had to remind them the other day, there's only been 2 10-0 seasons in the history of the school. So if it was that easy, I mean, we want to constantly remind them of the attention to detail and the work that it takes in order to get that done. And they know, they see it, they've seen it before, but it's always good to point out what's kept us there. We just get our kids to believe that they're great, and I think that once they believe that, it's just going out and proving it. And we've got the kind of kids that like to prove people wrong, and if they hear, hey, you're a small school, or hey, you're the smallest school in Lorain County, how can you keep this up? Well, we're going to keep it up under our watch. I don't know what guys are going to do behind us, but it's not going to slide under our watch. And we hope that that's the case this year. We handle adversity really well. It's something we really drive into our kids in terms of knowing that there's going to be ups and downs. You're not going to go a full season without a turnover. You're not going to go a full season without being behind at certain points. How are you going to handle those situations? And I think that, that's part of the thing that's kept us afloat. And, just the whole philosophy of going 1-0 every week. Going 1-0 every week, not not letting a pass loss or a pass win linger. Next game's the biggest game because it's the next game, and those are kind of been our philosophies and our sayings and things like that.
So when you have the sustained success, as Rob just said, how do you then implement goals for every season? How do you take it one step further? What are the goals for this year?
Yeah, every team's different. Every team has, and this year we tried to be as unique as possible. Anybody can line up or get into a meeting room and say, hey, we want to go undefeated, we want to win the conference, we want to make the playoffs. We try to focus on a number of different things, whether it's GPA, whether it's service-oriented type of things. But in terms of goals, it really, we have one goal, and that's to go 1-0 every week, and that maintains the focus on that week. If you set a goal to go 10-0 and you lose in week 1, it's very deflating. It's got to be very deflating. We've never done that. We've never set a goal to go 10-0. Our goal is to go 1-0 every week, and I've heard of other teams using that philosophy in the past, and it's worked really well for us, and it just keeps us very, very focused.
Well, hey, congratulations on the unbelievable success you have had. One of the premier programs in Lorain County. There's no doubt about it. As Rob said, it's going on 10, 11 years now, the success at Columbia, and you deserve a lot of credit for that.
Not that long, but
seems like it.
We'll let you go on saying that.
All right, buddy. Look forward to talking to you every week.
Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Thanks, Jay. Jason Ward, the head coach of the Columbia Raiders, who joins us at the head table. And, Rob, you said it, sustained success. So you talk about that with high school football in Lorain County. You're talking about the Columbia Raiders.
That's what impresses me the most under Jason. And the other part of that reason that impresses me is no knock on the guys before him, but, Tim, it was not a football powerhouse.
Right.
So it's not something that's been going on for 20 or 30 years. So what he has done there, really, when you stop and think about it, is very impressive.
No doubt. All right, let's bring Rob Clerico over, the head coach of the Keystone Wildcats, as Rob has been waiting very, very patiently here at Wolfie's. Now, of course, Wolfie's run by the Wolves,
right.
LaGrange folks. So I would think Rob Clerico is very comfortable here at Wolfie's. This isn't his first rodeo, as the old saying goes. Not that we think Rob's a regular here at Wolfie's. We don't want to create that sort of picture. Or maybe you are.
Hey, anytime Scott and Wendy want me to come here, I'm going to come here.
Well, we want you to come here too, my friend. Always good to talk with Rob Clerico, the head coach of the Keystone Wildcats. One of the great guys as far as high school football in general is concerned, and certainly a tremendous head football coach as well. How many years now at Keystone?
This will be 13.
Boy, it has flown by.
It has.
Man, that's amazing. So talk about 2016, which will now be your 13th year as the head coach. Just kind of some expectations going into this season.
Well, this is a season with high expectations. Last year we had 4 seniors, so a lot of underclassmen played, and some of those underclassmen even played the year before when we were in the playoffs. So we have a lot of Friday night experience coming back. And some younger kids that are going to get their first taste. But I think that this is going to be a year that we probably play more players on Friday night than we ever have before. So we could be a little fresher going into the fourth quarter. And I'm just excited. I'm excited every single year, and I'm excited this year too.
Coming off a year in which you were 3-7, but as you said, you played so many young kids. So where would you anticipate a big stride being made this year?
We talk a lot about how many games we lost last year by less than a touchdown. And with all the things that happen during a football game, and to think that you end up losing that game by less than a touchdown, it's those little things that add up over time. So we have really emphasized paying attention to the little things. And I think that since they've been through it before, and when you say to them, you lost those games because we didn't do the little things right, they can look back on that and say, oh, you're right, I remember doing that last year, and we have to be a lot better with that.
Was there one thing that you found, and when you look back at last year, one of those little things that just stood out more than another that you need to improve in for this year?
I think that we have 2 focuses this year. The first one is starting games better. For whatever reason, Friday night should be exciting. Though that first series, you should be sky high and ready to go, and we'd come out in a game and we'd be flat, and it would take us a while to work ourselves into the game. So first of all, we want to start better than we did last year. And we put a lot of emphasis this year on tracking on defense. And what I mean by that is where our eyes are when we're pursuing the football. We got beat a lot last year by cutbacks. and we did a lot of film review. We talked to the Ohio State coaches about how they teach tackling, and we realized that maybe our eyes are in the wrong place. So that's another just a little bitty thing. Where are your eyes when you're attacking the ball carrier? And that could make a big difference in a game.
Coach, boy, it's been years with a Conrad over at Keystone. CJ obviously now at Kentucky. Austin has moved on to become a Bobcat. So who assumes those leadership roles and obviously just on the field key roles for your football team now?
Well, the nice thing is that this is a senior class with, like I said, with a lot of experience, but they've also won all the way through. I've watched them play since the 3rd grade, and every level they've won, so they know how to win. So as a class, they're great leaders. And, Trey Minnick was our quarterback for most of the games last year and played a couple of games at quarterback the year before. He's a receiver now, but that time at quarterback has given him some leadership ability. And Brett Schuster has started at center for us the last 2 years. He's going to start again, and he's kind of the quarterback of the offensive line. He's another place where we find that leadership. And Cade Kristoff and just a whole bunch of those seniors really know how to win football games, and they're doing a great job mentoring the younger players.
Rob Polinsky mentioned a few minutes ago about one of his big thrills watching your team play in a playoff game for the very first time a couple of years ago. And, of course, you went through some big-time growing pains with that team to get to that level. Is this a similar scenario where you played a lot of young kids and now you expect kind of the fruits of their labor to come this year?
I do. I see a lot of parallels between that. That was way more drastic back then. That year, when we went 0-10, I keep telling everybody, although those guys worked their butts off, we might have been the worst team in the state of Ohio. But we were playing some freshmen. We were playing a lot of sophomores, and they grew through the process. Now, this is not in that same vein because we were playing juniors and they won 3 games and they had just been to the playoffs the year before, but I do think there are some parallels to be made.
Does that make your job a little bit easier, the fact that you did that, you've gone through that, and trying to teach and prove to these kids that it can be done?
It does, and it makes me believe that that the turnaround can happen. The time that you're in high school is so short, and how fast kids mature between their sophomore and their junior year and their junior and their senior year is amazing. And we tell them just being a year older doesn't make you better, but they put in a lot of great work in the weight room. They've paid attention to what the coaches have told them, so all that growth should lead to a better season.
Coach, one final question for you. Obviously, this team is now a little more experienced. Have you seen that already, just in scrimmages, where this is a better team right now than they were a year ago?
Well, we've had our ups and downs on our scrimmages, but I have seen it. I think the way that I notice it is that when things don't go well in a scrimmage, they know it and they accept it and they know how to respond to that rather than having to be told by the coaches. So they're ready to coach themselves because they've been through it, and I don't have to tell them, hey, we didn't do well in that series. They can come back to me and say, hey, we didn't do well in that series. I think we need to step it up a little bit.
You going to be in the hunt in the Stars?
Well, I hope so. The nice thing about our schedule is that there's 5 games until the first really important game for the division starts. So we've got a long ways to go until we get there, and we just want to get better each week. And if we get better each week, we definitely have the talent to be in the mix in the Stars. We just have to make sure that we maximize that talent, and that's up to the coaches.
There you go. Always good to talk to you, my friend.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming out. Looking forward to our weekly chats on the Forecast
Can't
Show.
wait.
Rob Clerico, the head coach of the Keystone Wildcats, joining us here at the head table. And again, Rob, one of many coaches that have come out to Wolfies tonight to join us on WEOL. Hey, before we get to the news, let's give away another 4-pack of tickets to see Frankie Ballard at the Lorain County Fair next week. And just like we did last time, all we're going to do is make you call the station. 246-0930, 322-0930. Again, 246-0930 or 322-0930. Alan Calcaterra will take the very first caller. Very first caller gets a 4-pack to see Frankie Ballard at the Lorain County Fair. So good luck. And let's take a timeout for news, and we got a whole lot more to come here at Wolfies as it's our preview show presented by Nick Abraham, Elyria Ford. We're on WEOL and Rob online
at WEOL.com.
In an instant, life can change. Hi, I'm veteran J.R. Martinez. If you've been hurt or disabled due to your service, the last thing you need to do is hurry up and wait for a VA claims decision. Make sure you file an electronic, fully developed claim or e-claim for disability compensation on e-benefits. It's the fastest and easiest way to get a claims decision. Learn more at ebenefits.va.gov. E-claims and e-benefits, online VA claims made simple.
And we welcome you back to Wolfies. Boy, it has been a busy night here. And we've already determined we're going past the 9 o'clock hour as far as our show is concerned. I don't know why we say 6 to 9 every year, because we get such great cooperation and great turnout from the coaches that we end up going later than 9 o'clock. In fact, it's already starting to settle into darkness here. Joe Bach has turned the big light on. Now we've got the television light going on us on a radio show. I'm not sure we need the big television light, Rob. They say radio adds weight. Joe, turn that thing off. My goodness. All right, let's get right back to our coaches. Well, before we do that, we have to congratulate the winner of the 4 Frankie Ballard tickets. And the winner of the tickets is Javier Cruz of Lorain. Javier Cruz has a 4-pack of tickets to see Frankie Ballard at the Lorain County Fair next week. So congratulations to Javier Cruz. So, Javier, enjoy the show. Now let's get to some more high school football talk as part of our Nick Abraham Elyria Ford High School Football Preview. And, of course, one of the premier programs not only in Lorain County, but certainly Northeast Ohio and perhaps the state of Ohio now, the Avon Eagles. They just keep racking up wins and playoff appearances. And, of course, they are led by Mike Elder. Well, Mike is out of town tonight. So he has sent one of his trusted assistants. Isn't it nice to be the assistant coach, Eric Kiesel, that just has to go out and do these things that Mike is usually doing?
Got to do what he asks sometimes. That happens. It's always great to be here with you guys. I appreciate all you guys do.
Well, Eric's the defensive coordinator over at Avon, and certainly, as I said, just one of the premier programs now as far as the state of Ohio is concerned. So what's on tap for 2016? How do you sustain it now?
We've always tried to keep, building our program up 7th, 8th grade with our AYFA program, working the same system through and keeping all the kids we can involved. I think Mike saw the numbers when he got to Avon that it was a growing community, and he wanted to make sure that kids were having a great time and they were learning the game of football so that, normally those kids that maybe you lose from 7th, 8th grade, 8th and 9th grade, 9th to 10th, they're going to keep out. And that's, that's a program philosophy I think we've been lucky to be able to establish.
What have your numbers averaged the last 3-4 years?
We have been we had 105 on the roster. This year it started spring. I mean, things always happen. Kids want it. Sometimes they do it and they're like, whoa, this is kind of hard work and we got to be accountable and all this. So we're somewhere, I think we're 92, 93 right now.
And that's about where you've been the last few years, correct?
Within 15 of that, going down into the 70s some years. But yeah, over the last 5.
Now, we heard the highlight coming out. Jake Sopko throwing that touchdown pass. You didn't come out on the winning side in that playoff game. But, number one, you got to replace Jake Sopko. So even though you're the defensive coordinator, I'm sure you get a look at the offense once in a while. So what's on tap on the offensive side of the ball?
We got to, they are lucky. I shouldn't say they're lucky. We're lucky we got a lot of linemen back. So anytime any program can have linemen back, you got a chance to do whatever you want. And, your big guys control things up front. I heard Coach Fell talking before about his offense. Don't let him fool you. They took it to us pretty good on Saturday because they got some guys up front that are, we're going to talk about dudes. Illyria's got some dudes, and we hope our dudes can kind of fill into that role this year. If they do it, your skill guys can do a lot. We got some running backs that kind of just fill in and are all really good, and if you can run the ball, you can run your play action, you can throw as much as you want once that is established.
Rob?
As a defensive coordinator, and, we don't get to talk to coordinators all the time, so enjoy this tonight. What is your philosophy on defense, and how hard is it to go up against spread offenses and all the different offenses that you get to see? What's it like being a defensive coordinator in today's football?
Well, you get into some of those teams like Midview, with Dustin Crum and those guys that are just amazing athletes, and I shave my head anyway, but I'd be bald the way offenses are now, just how fast they move and the talent that's in the backfield for so many teams in the SWC and that we see in the playoffs. Perrysburg, I think Perrysburg, Midview, and Cincinnati LaSalle were the 3 best teams in the state last year that we played, just because of their athletes back there. And it's tough, You got to try to make them sustain drives. You got to try to not give up the big play. And then even then, with somebody like Dustin, who you guys seen us play for 3 years now, I mean, you can do everything right. And sometimes athletes just make plays. And he's made plays over the last 3 years against us.
Talk about the expectation of excellence over at Avon. I mean, as we've said, Mike's been there several years now. He's built this program. Those kids walk out onto a football field believing they're going to win the game. Talk about that expectation and how that has grown over the years.
That is definitely something he's tried to install. I know that, I grew up, I played at Olmsted Falls and playing the Shoremen for all those years. Like, teams were already beat a lot of times when they saw Avon Lake get off the bus, just because those big guys were putting their hands in the mud. I heard you say, now the turf, and they were coming forward. And our kids, I think, have adapted that. We expect to win. We're not going to be like, I hope we can play with Midview, I hope we can play with Lakewood, or we can play with Westlake. We expect to win, and that feeds our off-season program. It feeds into how we approach the season, and you got to have that mindset. You don't take a second back. You want to respect your opponents. You don't want to fear anybody.
How long does it take to get there?
If you have the right classes in place, and we've been lucky, Avon, as a growing community, we've had great kids and great families, and so they've bought into Mike's philosophy, to our philosophy. They've bought into the program. They've bought into what we're trying to do. So we've been able to establish that. You get, in some communities, some towns, if you don't have the right classes, you maybe miss a class lower athletically, or maybe they don't all buy in. You got to reset it every year. But we've been lucky because our kids continuously have bought into that, and they do what we ask them to do. They're hard-working kids.
Again, we're talking with Avon defensive coordinator Eric Kiesel, filling in for Mike Elder tonight. So, as you've scrimmaged, as you've gotten ready for this upcoming season, where again excellence is expected, but still, you look at a team in the summer and go, okay, there's a few nagging concerns here. What might those be?
With any team, you got to stay healthy. I mean, people get bumped up, bruised up all the time. You got to separate, or I heard you're injured. I know we went, into Elyria, and the day before Elyria, we had 7 kids that were expected to either play in that game or were key backups that were like, we need to hold them out because it doesn't do you any good to win a scrimmage if you're going to take your lumps against Strongs, if you're going to take your lumps against Lake. So depth is always a concern, even with 90 kids. There's, of those 90, you might have 30 that you need to play. They got to be healthy. The other thing for us is just making sure that we can replace Jake. I mean, somebody like Jake Sopko doesn't come along, every year. So getting a leader at that offensive position, probably if I was talking about anything else, and somebody can control our flow is huge.
And a great back and choke.
Yep. Also, going to Mount Union, where I think he's going to flourish. He could line up. When you can have a tailback who can line up in the backfield and pound the ball and then split out to a slot and don't have to change personnel, gives you so many weapons. You talk about the spread offense. Teams that can do that without changing personnel freak me out. That drives me insane. That drives me insane.
But I would imagine, even though there's lingering questions, even though, as you said, you want to stay healthy and kind of get answers to those question marks, there's a real anticipation about a week from Friday.
You can only scrimmage each other, you can only practice each other before you really want to get after it, and we want to get out there in the season and put our guys together, our dudes together, our first team offense, our first team difference, see what we got. I think this could be one of the most rewarding years probably since I know I read the article when Mike talks about Fairview in that 2009 season, 2010 season. This could be really rewarding. We got a lot of guys back, but there are a lot of new varsity players, and if we can get them to grow, I think it could be a special year.
There you go. Hey, we appreciate you coming out, filling in. I think you did a great job.
I appreciate
interim guy.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks, you guys for all you do.
Oh, no problem. Eric Kiesel, defensive coordinator at Avon, joining us here at Wolfies to talk a little bit about the Eagle football program and the upcoming 2016 season. A quick timeout. I think Dave McFarland's up next. Is that correct? The head coach of the Titans is going to join us. We'll talk to Dave about what's going to happen over at George Daniel Field this year. We'll hear from the head coach of Lorain following this. It's our Nick Abraham, Elyria Ford 2016 high school football preview. We're live at Wolfies. We're on WEOL. We're on that mobile app if you put it on your phone. And Rob, we're online
at WEOL.com.
Sergeant Michelle Garcia served meritoriously in Iraq and has the medals to prove it. Soon after leaving the Navy, Lieutenant Chris Scott found a job, a home, and started a family of his own. Corpsman Richard Stokely took the skills he learned in Vietnam and put them to good use as a paramedic. But soon after leaving the military, each of these veterans fell on hard times and faced homelessness. Even after Michelle lost all her savings, even after Chris wasn't able to pay his mortgage, and even after Richard battled alcoholism for years, they each reached out for help when they needed it most. A simple phone call put them in touch with a trained professional from the Department of Veterans Affairs. That call got Michelle a place to stay until she could afford one of her own, put Chris in touch with employment assistance, and found Richard a substance abuse program. These veterans are success stories not only for how they were able to help others while serving their country, but for how they were able to let others help them. If you know of or are a veteran in need, make the call.
Now this is the interview that Joe Bach from WLCS TV 20 Lorain City Schools Television has been waiting for.
Patiently waiting.
Yes, boy. Standing there in his shorts for the last 2.5 hours. We're all thankful that he's behind the camera with those shorts on. Look at Dave McFarland saying, I got to put sunglasses on. I can't look at this. Always great to have Dave McFarland joining us here at Wolfie's as part of our 2016 high school football preview show. Tim Elkhorn with you, along with Dave McFarland's favorite sportscaster, Rob Polinsky. And it's great to have Dave sitting right next to us here at the table. Dave, always good to chat with you, my friend.
Where's Tommy Evans?
That's his
Tommy
favorite.
Evans is at your table.
That's his favorite.
Oh, Tommy Evans is your favorite
Oh, yeah.
now?
We all take a back seat to...
Good to have you here, my friend. And from what I understand, high expectations at Lorain High this year. You've got some talented youngsters out on that football field.
Absolutely. We got great kids, and they're working real hard. And we had a great day of practice today, and I think I lost my voice today, but our kids are doing all the little things that we want them to do academically and on the athletic field, so we're excited.
Boy, you heard the highlight coming out of the break. Just a superior talent in Naz Bohannon, state champ. Zion Cross, you're going to have some speed. I mean, you're going to have some weapons on the offensive side of the ball. Do you expect that to be pretty prolific this year?
Well, we're excited about that, but we build with the defense, and we're real happy with our defense right now. And all those kids you just mentioned play defense for us, and we want to play fast on defense, fast and physical. And so hopefully we can, you look around high school football anymore, everybody's scoring 30 points. Hopefully we can change that trend a little bit, start holding people down to 6, 7, 8 points a game. But our offense will be, we do have a lot of weapons, but we start with the defense.
It's not like your offense doesn't score points, though, Dave. Right? I mean, last year,
20 a game.
20 a game.
Oh, yeah. And the year before, I think we averaged over 35 a game. I mean, we've got weapons, but it's just our philosophy. I think since you've known me, we want to be a hard-hitting physical defense and wear people down. So that's where we're going to start. And Zion and all those guys are on our defense. They're also on our offense, but it should be a fun year.
Dave, we were talking with Avon assistant coach Eric Kiesel before you came over to the table just about numbers and how important it is, especially at Division I, to have numbers, to have depth. That's one thing that you've really concentrated on. Where are the numbers this year for Lorain High?
We got good numbers. I think we're around 120, 9 through 12. But, we made a commitment my first year to the freshman program, and we made a commitment last year to the JV program, so all those freshmen played JV. And we had kids on that JV team last year that were probably by midseason could have started on our varsity, but we had made a commitment. And so our junior class has won. And I think learning how to win and being a winner is important. So we're excited to see how that translates.
Rob?
Coach, reading the article about Naz Bohannon in the Chronicle Telegram, athletically, I think everybody knows how gifted he is, football and basketball, what he does academically. You've been doing this a lot of years, a lot of places. How rare is a kid like that, and how good is he?
Well, Naz is awful special. He's just a great kid, and everything that Naz is getting, he's got by himself. I mean, his academics are outstanding. He's a phenomenal basketball player, and that's his first love is basketball. And so, we're certainly excited for him. But as a football player, he's just naturally a great kid. He's 6'6". He's a good football player, and it's excited to be around him.
Go ahead, Rob.
I was going to say another thing I wanted to ask you. Dave DeLugas was telling us that early on, obviously, they've got to be good because they start with Elyria, then they go to Avon. you guys start at Midview and then you go to Elyria. 2 games that we'll have on WEOL and WEOL.com. But does that make the challenge of the summer even tougher, realizing that you've got those 2 teams to start your schedule?
Yeah, how lucky could I be? I mean,
how lucky can one guy be?
I get to go to Midview, and then I get to the best quarterback in the area, and then I get to go to Elyria with probably the best running game in the area. So I'm a pretty lucky guy.
Well, you're not too bad either. I mean, you know, you try to do a Lou Holtz there with us, but, I mean, you guys are ready for those 2 games.
Yeah, we'll be ready, and it's exciting. It's good for our kids, our community, to play in big games. And obviously heading over to Midview game 1 will be a lot of fun, a lot of excitement. And the Crum kid's a special kid. I don't think there's been a quarterback come through this county in a long time like him. And then, of course, we head over to Elyria. That's a big rivalry.
Again, we're talking with Dave McFarland, head coach of Lorain High. Titans coming off a 5-5 season last year. Dave, you mentioned the fact that you think your defense could be outstanding. Now, this is a defense last year that gave up less than 14 points per game. So how much better can your defense become?
Well, I think we can get a lot better. We've got to play fast. We got fast kids and we got physical kids. And, I got a young man in Jeremy Wild who's just a great young defensive guy, and he's done a nice job with our kids. So we're excited to see what they can do. But when you have a great defense, it takes pressure off your offense. And when there's no pressure on your offense, they can play a little freer, and it makes life a little easier for our young offense.
Dave, I'm sure when you came into Lorain, got hired by Brian Corey, you had goals, you had objectives, be it year 1, year 2, for however long you plan on being at Lorain. Is this program on track? Is it where you wanted it to be when you look back to when Brian said, Dave, you're our guy?
Right. Well, first of all, I'll be there as long as they want me there. They might fire me tomorrow. I never know.
I doubt that, Dave.
But second, our first year we said we're going to focus on the freshmen. They didn't have a freshman team for a couple of years. And the second year we're going to focus on the freshmen and the JV team, which we did, because you just can't go from 0 to 60 without having a freshman team and a JV team. And that was the fundamental issue in Lorain, is they didn't have a foundation. There was no JV program, no freshman program. And kids would just come out, and then they're varsity players, but they're not ready for varsity football. So we're at a point now where we hope we can turn the tables a little bit and become a real Division I solid football program.
What's the next step in that process?
Well, obviously, we're excited about our varsity kids. We got to continue to have great freshman program, which we do, and a great JV program, which we do. Our JVs practice separate from us, and a lot of schools don't do that. So we're excited about our numbers and excited about our kids. And ultimately, you got to show up on Friday nights and you got to perform.
How big of a year is this year for your program overall? How big of a step would you like to see this team take?
Well, it's a big step. I think we're going to be a good football team, and we have high expectations. Obviously, the senior class this year is still a byproduct. They did not have freshman football. Nas didn't play his freshman year. Deshaun didn't play his freshman year. A lot of our seniors didn't play. So they've only got a couple years under their belt. Next year, that group played as freshmen. They're all back as seniors. So we have really high expectations for this season and going forward.
You're the only Lorain County school in the Lake Erie League. What can you tell our listeners about the LEL this year?
Well, the LEL is tough. Every team in the LEL has an Ohio State or a Michigan State recruit. If you really look at, Cleveland Heights got a kid that's Alabama's recruiting. The LEL is full of great athletes. It's an exciting league. It's a shame more people aren't in tune to it. So it should be fun because you get a lot of national attention in that league.
With Midview a week from Friday, and then, as Rob said, Elyria right after that. Is your team where you want them to be about 10 days out from the opening kickoff? They pretty much?
No, they're not, but they're getting there, and that's all part of the process. I bet any coach you talk to say they're not happy yet, but, we're pushing, and it's going to happen fast, so we'll see what happens.
Who'd you scrimmage, and what did it show you?
Well, our first scrimmage with University School went pretty good, and then we scrimmaged Amherst Saturday and felt pretty good about our defense on Saturday against Amherst, and offensively we moved the ball pretty well. So, just little things we got to kind of clean up.
And one final thing before I let you go. Where did you learn the dance moves that I saw on display at your daughter's wedding this summer?
Well,
Man, you were just cutting a rug out there this summer, Dave.
Well, I'm really not a very good dancer. Just ask my wife; she tells me that. But
you thought you were that night.
Yeah. Well, my daughter had a deal that if you were coming to the wedding, you got to dance. So I don't think I had a lot of choice because it upset her. But I do want to put a shout out to my wife. I keep trying to call her. I'm out of money, and WEOL, they didn't give me enough money here on my little credit card. So can you stop by Wolfie's and bring a credit card?
Well, if Mrs. McFarland is listening, you think she is?
Oh, yeah. She won't answer her phone, but she'll listen to the daggone radio.
And that's the way it should be, Dave. That's the way it should be. Hey, always great to have you on. And I'll tell you what, I am really, really looking forward to it. I've got those first 2 games. I know you wanted Rob, but I got those first 2. I got Midview and I got Elyria. Sorry to tell you that, Coach.
I'm just going to tell you, Rob is good, man. We never lose when he's there. So.
Yeah, I can switch it off.
Do it. It's done. I just heard it. He switched it. Rob, you're in.
Do I have to remind you, the last game I had with you, you didn't win, Coach.
Oh, all right. You're out there. Where's Tommy Evans?
Right. There you go. Well, we'll hope Mrs. McFarland brings you some more money. And we look forward to seeing you next Friday over at Midview. We'll be there, Coach.
All right.
Thanks, Dave. Dave McFarland, the head coach of Lorain High. Always great to have him on. And, again, Rob, as you said, in all seriousness, you talk about 2 great games for the Titans to open things up. Midview a week from Friday, and then a Saturday afternoon Labor Day weekend affair with the Elyria High Pioneers. Dave will find out pretty quick what kind of football team he has.
He will. And then just to give a quick promo for an upcoming game we have later, Tim, I'm excited to see the Titans going to Sandusky. As an older guy now and somebody that's been a fan of high school sports in Northeast Ohio, to see Lorain going to Strobel Field taking on the Blue Streaks, you'll have that game on October 7th. Lorain at Sandusky. I think that's going to be a great game. I'm excited to see that on the schedule.
I agree. All right, quick timeout. Mike Collier of Clearview will join us next. We'll talk to the head coach of the Clippers. Oh, Mad Dog's all excited about that. Stay with us on WEOL and Rob Online.
At WEOL.com.
Ohio State is saving lives every day.
This is Ohio State.
We're the economic engine of the state. A major employer.
Over 60,000 students. We're on the forefront of cancer research. An educational core of Ohio.
Impacting tens of thousands daily. Our alumni organization is nearly 500,000 worldwide.
This is Ohio State.
This is Ohio State. Ohio State.
This is the Ohio State University.
And we welcome you back to Wolfies. It's our Nick Abraham Elyria Ford 2016 high school football preview. Tim Elkhorn, Rob Polinsky, and again, a whole bunch of people have shown up here at Wolfies, including basically every football coach in Lorain County. So we're going to go a little bit past 9 o'clock, but hey, that's a good thing because we have had a tremendous turnout here tonight, including our next guest, Mike Collier, the head coach of the Clearview Clippers, who has stopped by the head table. Mike, you didn't leave any food over there, did you?
Oh, absolutely not. You guys take really good care of us, that's for sure.
Well, great to have you here. Let's talk Clearview football 2016. You and Rob Polinsky were talking during the break. You've got a home-loaded schedule here, but even though you got a lot of games at home, you still got to put the product out there. As I mentioned earlier to one of the coaches, talk a little bit about this football team as far as the upcoming year is concerned.
We're really excited about this group. We got a lot of seniors that have grown up in the Clearview system, played together, play for each other. Great chemistry with this group, and really looking forward to it. It's been a great off season, and we can't wait to see what they look like on the field.
Coming off a 4-6 campaign, what do you got to do to bounce back, to get back to where Clearview's used to being?
Yeah, we definitely have to make strides, and a lot of that returning letterment leadership will provide that what we need. We've talked about some of the growth things that we need to do in the off season. I think our kids have really bought in and playing for each other and showing the character that it takes to make the next step on and off the football field.
Coach, a couple of years you've been down. How hungry is this group? Does that make you and the staff even hungrier? These kids that want to say, hey, we've got to get back to where Clearview used to be.
It is, and like I said, this group has grown up in the Clearview system as a whole. They understand what Clearview football is about. They know the tradition. It's been taught to them since they were little kids. And I think that's going to carry a lot of weight moving forward.
When you chatted with me, or texted with me, I should say, for the forecast article, well, you listed a whole bunch of kids that you're anticipating big years from, returnees. You've got a lot of them. Take a couple of minutes and just talk about key guys for Clearview this year.
It is. It's exciting. We start off with 9 returning guys on offense. Diari Todd's a big key to what we do this year, offensively and defensively. He's getting a lot of Division I looks right now. He's had 9 offers as of so far. But we have a lot of guys coming back. Jacob Collier, my son, Demetrius De Almeida, Jamel Billings, Dakota Stout. I could go on and on. Just like I said, this senior group is laden with guys that have bought into the program, have invested a lot of time over their lives into Clearview football. So we're looking forward to a great season. Defensively, again, we have a great linebacking core. Our defensive backfield, some of those guys that I just mentioned, will be providing leadership on both sides of the football.
Mike, with 9 returnees on offense, what does it seem like week 10 was just last night? Do they pick it right back up again as soon as you get into camp?
It's definitely a benefit, but we also talked about just because you're returning doesn't make you better. We were 4-6 last year. You guys were on the field, so it's time to make the next step, to put the time in the off season, and those guys have done that, and we're fortunate to have them back. And like I said, it's up to them to make the next step. Well, we're working with them to make the adjustments that we need to make, but it's gonna take some buy-in.
How have you looked in the 2-a-days and through the scrimmages so far?
We've had, like I said, good off season. It's been tough, but our kids have battled through the heat and everything else, the adversity that they faced so far. Our first scrimmage was against Sandusky, and they had good numbers, good size, and our kids, they started off slow offensively, but I was very, very proud of them, the way they just kept playing for each other. They battled through some of the mistakes that they had early on, and you could see the growth just in the short time span that we were out there against Sandusky.
Mike, you're the first coach that I've really thought to ask this question. I mean, we're all been dealing with this heat, and yet football is such a mental toughness game. I mean, you have to have physical tools, but you have to have mental toughness as much as it's tough to battle through the heat. How much does it help that process? Hey, guys, you got to work through this.
And we talked about it. As coaches, you look for those opportunities to teach mental toughness, and I'm not sure that that's the easiest thing in the world to teach. You push them in the weight room, you push them to do good things, in the hallways and in the school, but to be facing 90-something degree heat with the humidity that we had, obviously you have to give water breaks and stuff like that, but they have to focus on what they need to do to get better on a day-to-day basis. And I think it has built our mental toughness up a little bit so far.
That's interesting. Overall, where do you see Clearview as far as the pack race is concerned this year?
We come in every year trying to shoot for the top. I'd be foolish not to mention Columbia. They've been at the top in the Stripes division, and obviously we'll be shooting for them. That's who we got to go through in order to get there. So we're ready to battle and get back towards the top of the pack.
Is that something that the kids have put out there as a goal?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't believe in being wishy-washy with them. We talk about what it is they want to do. Obviously, it is a week-to-week game. You've heard all the coaching cliches by now, but if we don't talk about it, then it's hard to address it and get after it. So, obviously it starts with the non-conference games, and we have to take care of business early on. But the ultimate goal is to get back to the top of the Stripes division in the pack.
How important is the start of the season to get a good run with those first 4 games at home? Since you didn't have a great year last year, how important is it to get that out of their heads and move on to this year?
It's key. You start off with week 1 against Vermilion. We've had some battles with them, and I think in order to build that confidence, you need to have success early on. And it's important for our kids to understand that things are going to go wrong throughout the course of a game, but we just got to keep coming back and fighting for each other and playing hard. And we do it 1 week at a time, and before you know it, you can be back to where we need to be.
Mike, as far as just on the field, what you feel your team can do well? I know you like the experience of your team, but what do you feel they'll do well? What will be the trademark of your team?
A lot of that returning starters are on the line. And everybody who's ever watched football, that's where it's done, on offense and defensive lines. And we have a ton of experience there. We're counting on those guys to make it happen for us in the run game especially. We're looking forward to a returning running back with Drew Engel, and we also have Khalil Fenderson, and Ricky Moore will be getting some time back there. So those guys are going to have to open holes for us and make things happen. We don't have the kid that's going to run a 4.4, 4.5 this year and break a 90-yarder. We're going to have to move the football down the field, get first downs, and keep possession of the football in order for us to be successful. And I think our offensive line and our defense, with a lot of team speed over there, they're swarming to the ball. I think they're going to keep us in games early on, and our offense is going to continue to grow.
And back on that offensive side, that's where that mental toughness comes in. If you're going to put together sustained drives, if you don't have that big playmaker, you better be mentally tough because you can't make mistakes to put you in a 2nd and 15 or a 2nd and 20 or whatever the case may be.
You're right. Early on in those counts, if you get yourself behind the chains, you're in trouble. So we've talked a lot about that. Continue to get 4 or 5 yards of play. Cannot afford to have those mental lapses and get those penalties.
There you go. Hey, we appreciate you stopping out. I know you've been patient. You've been waiting for a while. But Mad Dog hung in there with you, man.
Oh, he's great. This guy puts in so many hours, I can't tell you, man. Great big heart this guy has, and he's great for the city of Lorain and everybody else that's in town. So
he was just leaning in on every word you had to say, Coach.
Well, we don't know what we'd do without him. Guy's got the biggest heart of anybody I know.
Yeah, I agree with you there. All right, my friend. Looking forward to talking to you every week.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks,
Class
Mike.
act.
Do appreciate it. Thank you. Mike Collier, the head coach of the Clearview Clippers, joining us here at the table as part of our Nick Abrahami Leary Ford 2016 high school football preview. We're at Wolfie's. We're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, Bill Fishley, the head coach of the Amherst Comets, will join us. Now, I understand his babysitter is only on the clock till 9. So we got a 4-minute interview coming up with Bill Fishley. So stay with us on AM 930 WEOL and Rob Online
at WEOL.com.
I began in 3rd grade, 8 years old, and I was able to learn the chest compressions and the breaths, and I absolutely believe that anyone out in the public can easily learn. We got a page for an unresponsive 2-month-old, and when I got the first glimpse of the 2-month-old, he was blue. We didn't even get to go inside. I just jumped in the back and we started CPR, continuing CPR, and you were able to see the color start to come back, and then we were able to actually get his heart rate back. It was a pretty moving part in the story that we were able to save a 2-month-old's life. My community is why.
As we broadcast live from Wolfie's in Elyria, it's our Nick Abrahami Elyria Ford 2016 high school football preview. Tim Elkhorn, Rob Polinsky. Boy, a bevy of coaches have shown up. Again, we thank the coaches so much. They are so busy right now with opening kickoff a week from Friday, and yet they take time out of their very, very busy schedules to come on out and spend a few moments with us here at Wolfie's. And for some of them, they are extraordinarily patient because we seem to have a crush of coaches that get here sometimes, and we gotta wade through them to get them on the air. And one of those guys that has been waiting very patiently, and his babysitter may be listening right now going, hey, you told me I'm out of here at 9 o'clock. Bill Fishley, the head coach of the Amherst Comets. Bill, great to have you with us.
It's great to be here.
I told you we'd race through the interview. You know, you don't want to have the babysitter on overtime.
No, we don't want to. Yeah, my wife's over there. She's counting the minutes.
All right, well then, real quickly, let's get to this Amherst Comet 2016 season and team. Certainly a tough year last year. I mean, you can't sugarcoat that. And I imagine it's tough for kids. You know, I mean, 2-8, 1-9, but when you don't have a victory to show for all that efforts, how frustrating was that? And how do you tell the kids, listen, you got to learn from last year, but you also have to put it behind you?
Yeah, it was very frustrating. You know, at the entire season, watching the efforts throughout the entire week and the whole season, and then not seeing that fruit of their all the efforts, and that was very tough for us. But this off season, we refocused and we said, you can't just work hard to be successful. You actually have to do a little bit extra. And our boys, even today, we conditioned. We had a great practice, and we walked back from the field house, and there's guys running the track just trying to get better all the time because they know they need to take that extra step to get better.
Coach, coming out of the break, we heard the field goal that was called, and that almost epitomized your offense. You really had a tough time scoring points last year, less than 10 a game. How do you get more point production?
You know, we changed offensive coordinators. We changed offenses. We evaluated all that sort of stuff. And, you know, we are going to try to grind it out a little bit more and, you know, make it so it's a little more successful. We have a great kicking game, and we want to use that kicking game, even on the punt and the kicking side, and utilize that to our best advantage.
And it puts a lot of pressure on your defense.
Yeah.
I mean, not that you have to go out and score 40 a game, but when you're really struggling to score, that puts a lot of pressure on your defense. What do you do defensively this year? Hopefully the offense scores some more points to take some pressure off them. But what are your thoughts defensively?
You know, defensively, you know, we're going to keep that same mindset. We call them the attack dogs, and we try to get after all offenses. You know, we try to create turnovers. I know the one game you guys were at, you know, we're at Avon Lake, we caused 5 turnovers, and it was a big game defensively. We just couldn't get over that hump and get into the end zone and, you know, scoring points. And, you know, we keep trying to tell them to grind it out, and, you know, good things will happen.
Coach, reading your article in the Chronicle Telegram about the upcoming season, I thought it was interesting that you mentioned that when you went through last year, you kind of stepped back after the year, looked back and said, we need to make some changes. What made you decide? I mean, the obvious is you went 0-10, but what was the decision-making process, and when did you come to decide you've got to make some changes, and then just talk about those?
I think at the end of the year, you know, the mindset in the locker room, the mindset in the coach's office, it was just a bad atmosphere. And I really felt like, you know, we spend a lot of time, you know, we jokingly talk about having a sitter at home and all that sort of stuff, and we spend a lot of time, you guys spend a lot of time, and to not have successful and not be in a great environment and be, you know, happy with all that sort of stuff, I had to take a step back personally and say, what do we want this Amherst Comets program to be like? And, you know, I think that was my big tell is, you know, the mindset and the attitude of what our program is at was not where it needed to be. So that was the big reason for stepping back for that month and a half and really using that time to evaluate and get things moving in the right direction.
Do those changes bring a different look as Amherst Comet fans go to games this year? Will they see a different offense, a different defense?
It's a 100% different offense. Defensively, I felt like we did a lot of great things. Now, obviously, there's things to improve upon, and, you know, we did some minor changes to the defense, but offensively, we've totally revamped. We threw out the old system, and we're moving to something different. And it's not totally different, you know, not so our fans don't think we're resetting the wheel and, you know, it's like the Browns, you know, all that kind of stuff, or, you know, keep doing that. But in a sense, though, we're utilizing what we do best and what our community is kind of proud of, and, you know, tough, hard-nosed football. And I think that's what we need to do in the Southwest. And a lot of schools are going to the spread stuff, and they're trying to, you know, be fancy and use the spacing. We're going to try to, you know, pack it in, and we're going to try to pound you, and we're going to do what we do best, I think.
Again, we're talking with Amherst head coach Bill Fishley. Bill, an hour or so ago now, it seems, boy, we have so many coaches on, but Dave DeLugas mentioned your freshman team last year was the best in the conference of all the freshman teams. So they're now sophomores. Now, do you play some of those guys this year? You're going to try to keep them together? When you got a ninth grade team that's kind of loaded, I know you're tempted probably to go, I'm plugging you in.
Yeah.
But do you also have to have some patience?
There's certainly some patience, and we understand they're sophomores. But the great thing about them having a great sophomore class this year is it's brought so much competition and brought our team together, because the seniors now look at, you know, the sophomores and say, these guys can actually play. And it's been awesome for our team chemistry. We had a lock-in last Saturday, and we've done it the last couple of years, and it was just amazing to see all the interactions between seniors to sophomores, juniors to sophomores, juniors to seniors, and it was just that part of football is what makes teams great. You know what I mean? That interaction, that sort of stuff. But to answer your question, the sophomores, there's some guys that are definitely going to be playing on Friday nights.
So, realistically, what are the goals this year? What would you like to see this team accomplish? Whether it's wins and losses or just steps forward, what would you like to see this team do?
No, I obviously think, you know, the motto this offseason has been restore the pride. It's a big term that I think Coach Risen, maybe even before Coach Risen, you know, was at Amherst, brought Comet pride. I really feel like we need to bring that back. You know what I mean? I want our community to feel prideful in the program that they have on the football field. So, you know, if we can, at the end of the year, and I know it's kind of not a definable thing, not saying we're going to win 7 games, win 8 games, but I want to say that we have Comet pride, and that we have pride in our community, we have pride in our school, we have pride in our football program.
There you go. All right, we don't want to keep that babysitter waiting, so we'll let you scoot. Hopefully you got enough to eat while you had to wait patiently.
Oh, we had plenty. Wolfie's great food here. Oh, it's amazing.
Good stuff. Hey, best of luck this year. I know last year was frustrating for you, but as you said, Comet Pride and getting some things turned around, I think good things will happen around the corner for you.
Certainly.
No doubt. Thanks,
Thank you,
Bill.
guys.
Thanks, Bill.
Yep.
Bill Fishley, the head coach of the Amherst Comets, joining us here at the head table as he talks a little bit about the upcoming 2016 season. All right. I think we're going to get right to Ray Lowe, correct?
Yes.
Ray Lowe, the head coach of Open Door, is going to swing on over and join us here at the head table. And, of course, for Open Door, they now return to the gridiron in 2016 after not having a team last year. And yet it'll be a little bit of a different look. So Open Door is going to be playing 8-man football this fall. So for Ray Lowe, number one, I'm sure you're thrilled to be back out there working with kids this summer. I know last year was excruciating for you, and I know I believe you texted me or called me saying we just can't put a team on the field this year. But to be back out there working with kids, number one, first and foremost, that has to be very exciting for you.
It absolutely is. Just the enthusiasm that our kids have, the enthusiasm that the school has, it's contagious. And the kids are really working hard. It's great to be coaching again, and we're just really excited about it.
So for the listeners that are driving down Route 57 right now or wherever they may be listening on the mobile app, 8-man football, describe it. Now I've called arena ball. I've called gladiator games. Is it similar? Because that's
similar,
8-man.
It's still, similar in numbers, but none of the motion and that sort of thing. But
okay.
It's basically on the offensive side, you're losing your 2 tackles and a fullback. So your tight ends become tight ends and tackles, which some of our bigger guys, they get pretty excited about that because they might be able to go out and catch a pass.
Okay.
And then on the defensive side, it's usually 1 defensive lineman, a linebacker, and a defensive back.
Okay.
So with 6 less players on the field overall, because 3 on each side, I would assume it's a speed game, and you've got to have the guys that get out there.
Yeah, it's much faster.
I would think.
It's much faster. It's a lot of research I've been doing because I had to because it was new. It's kind of a track meet on a Friday night, or for our case, it'll be a Saturday afternoon. But the field is 40 yards wide as opposed to 53 1/3. So it's a more narrow field, but we're still going to go with the same 100-yard length.
Really? Okay,
Yes.
so it's a narrower field.
Yes.
Wow, that's interesting. Now, obviously, the reason that you couldn't put a team on the field last year was just due to lack of numbers. Now, as Rob said, you're down 3 on the offensive side, 3 on the defensive side. Do you have the numbers, though, to sustain this? Did it raise the numbers back up?
Well, didn't really raise them up. We started out with 15. I lost 2, 1 to an injury right now, but that athlete will be back. So then we lost 2 that decided not to play. So we're down to 12, but we are still playing and we're still moving forward with it. Our middle school has good numbers moving up in the 8th grade class and then in the 7th grade class. So we're expecting if we can keep between 4 and 5 athletes per class,
okay,
we're going to keep playing. That's the goal at least.
How tough is it to find opponents?
Well, we're traveling up to Michigan. We're playing out of the 10-week season. We're going to play 8 games against Michigan opponents. So we're traveling up there 5 times, and then they're coming down. A couple of other schools will be coming down to play us down here in Ohio.
Okay. I would imagine 8 on 8. Again, I'm basing it somewhat off the arena ball that I did.
Right.
So the quarterback's huge. I mean, that's just huge. It's the same concept. You got to have a guy that can back there and just trigger that offense.
Yeah, you got to have someone that can move the ball pretty well, someone that's knowledgeable, pretty smart, pretty athletic.
So who's your QB?
Our QB is a freshman. His name is Donovan Davis, a transfer in from Phoenix, Arizona. So we're really excited about that. Someone to grow with. It almost feels a lot like the first time I sat up here and talked with you guys. We have 1 senior this year, and then the rest of our team are freshmen, sophomores. So we're really, really young, but the kids are really excited about it. They've been working hard.
So how hard is it for the coaches for you guys to shift from seeing 11-man your whole lives to now we've got to coach this 8-man, and I'm assuming the teams you're playing, have had 8-man teams in the past.
Yes.
So how hard is it from the coaching standpoint to make this adjustment?
It's been a big adjustment. For me personally, I can speak. It's just been a learning experience. So it's a lot of video watching. I've made personal phone calls to coaches out in Iowa and in Michigan to talk to them to get some ideas for what we want to do, how we can run our 11-man offense in an 8-man scheme. And it's been challenging because we've had to change and tweak some things a little bit. The defensive side of the ball is the side that gives me the most nerves because there's only really 2 lines of defense, really, when you if you're looking at playing a 4-4 or even a 4-3 with 1 safety, somebody breaks through that line or gets around the corner, and that's why it turns into a track meet pretty quick.
Absolutely. As much as it's new and it's different and it's learning, I would think it's exciting.
It is.
I mean, we're going to try something new here. We'll see how the chips fall.
It is absolutely exciting, and the kids are buying into it. The coaching staff bought into it when I sat down and talked with them. The administration bought into it. We're doing some renovations over at Open Door to the field. So it's pretty exciting. It should be a really fun time this year. It's going to be great.
That's really cool. Well, hey, we appreciate you coming out. And again, I'm happy for Open Door because for the kids that want to play football, they now have an opportunity.
Absolutely.
And it may not be 11 on 11, but you're going to go out there, you're going to play some football, you're going to pop some people.
Right.
It's going to be a fun brand of football.
Well,
so for the kids at Open Door, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's like I told them when we first met and we first broke the news about 8-man football. I said, you guys, football's football. It's still passing, still tackling, still running, still catching. You're doing all the exact same tasks, but you're just doing it with 3 less guys on each side.
Yeah, it's a fun game.
It is.
When you were a kid, if there were 5 guys on each team,
that's the backyard.
Yeah, I mean that was fun football.
Backyard.
So I would imagine there's some excitement
Hey, you get a
with
chance,
that.
you'll have to come on out and watch. It'll be fun.
Absolutely. Well, hey, I know you sat there and waited a while,
that's all
so
right.
we
Thank
appreciate you coming out. Best of luck with this year. I hope it goes very, very well.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ray. Ray Lowe, the head coach of the Patriots from Open Door. Again, they weren't out on the gridiron last year, but they've been able to formulate a schedule with 8-man football. And, Rob, like I said, for the kids, I think that's pretty cool. We're going to play. We're going to go out and play. And really, that's the essence of high school football, the ability to go out and play the game.
You still have homecoming. You still have your pep assemblies. It's just going to be a little bit different, but good for them. And I would think because they didn't have the program for 1 year, it's going to make the kids, and you see in Ray, appreciate it even more. Just that opportunity, again, to go out there and compete.
No doubt. All right, we're going to pause for a station identification and a very quick timeout. And then when we come back, Mike Passarello, our buddy from Firelands, will join us. I can't keep them all straight anymore. Mike Passarello is going to stop by and say hello. So legal ID time and then more from Wolfies on WEOL.
Hi, this is Michael Peterson. I'm sitting here in the beautiful Sound Kitchen recording studios in Franklin, Tennessee. Did you know that for over 90 years, the American Legion Auxiliary has provided comfort, care, and scholarships for our military veterans and their families? There continues to be a great need for scholarships for the children of our military veterans, as well as outreach for our wartime veterans and their families. Please join me in making a generous donation to the American Legion Auxiliary Foundation.
We welcome you back to Wolfies as we continue on with our Nick Abraham Elyria Ford high school football preview. See, I knew we were going to go past 9 o'clock. We got a few more coaches to go. As again, Joe Bach from WLCS TV 20, Lorain City Schools Television. He told us he had 51 more minutes of tape. Now, we're not going to use all 51 minutes. I can guarantee you that. But, again, check out Joe Bach's WLCS TV 20 YouTube channel. That is very, very cool. 600,000 folks have gone to the WLCS TV 20 YouTube channel. Rob, you mentioned we could have a WEOL staff meeting here. Look, Gary Pelton has now shown up.
And it's early for Gary to show up.
Yeah, maybe Gary just got out of bed or something. I'm not sure. Well, hey, here's a guy that had some success last year. Mike Passarello, the head coach of the Firelands Falcons. And they're coming off a playoff season last year. Good job by the Firelands Falcons. They had an 8-2 regular season, advanced to postseason play. Second time in Mike's tenure as the head coach at Firelands that they were in the playoffs. So, first of all, congratulations on that. And now, as I'm sure every member of the South Amherst, Birmingham, and Kipton community have asked you, where do you go from here, Coach?
Yeah, that's a heck of a question.
We've talked all off season about reloading and not rebuilding.
There you go.
We talked about the first time when we made the playoffs in 2011, and then we experienced a rebuilding process for 2 years. Then we went 6-4, and then last year 8-2 and making the playoffs. And we talked about, do we want to go through the growing pains, or do we want to keep this winning going on? And winning is 6 games, and talking after you get that, then we talk about playoffs. So that's kind of our goal right now.
Not to put a one-loss record on it or a playoff appearance on it, but is this a team that can sustain it?
Yes, it is. It is, or we wouldn't have talked about it. They are a very talented group. We lost a great senior class last year. We're a little bit lower on numbers this year, but the talent is there, and we just got to keep improving. We had our first scrimmage last week, and we got to build off of that and keep doing the little things right.
How'd you look?
We look good. We look good, but as we talked about today, we want to make sure that we're preparing ourselves for the best. We're preparing ourselves to play the best. We could stay where we were at in the scrimmage and win a couple games, or do you want to win a lot of games this year?
What's the key to doing that? How do you get them to realize you've got to get better right now? You can't just wait for that first week.
Well, I think, just with our film session today, pointing out the little things. There's some things where, whether it was blocking, running, or tackling, where, we got the job done, but do we want to get the job done versus a little bit stronger opponent going into our conference and making that happen?
I had your game with Vermilion last year, and what impressed me watching your kids was defensively. Especially that night, how good you guys were. How do you see your defense this year?
Well, we bring back quite a bit of starters still. Those guys are still hungry to continue that success. We still expect them to fly the football and be in a bad mood when they get there. And that's kind of been our philosophy since we got there, and we don't really expect anything less.
Again, we're talking with Mike Passarello, head coach over at Firelands High School. Going to the offensive side, you had one of the most dynamic players in Lorain County last year in quarterback Brad Thrasher. I mean, he just made things happen. So who's that dynamic player for Firelands this year? Or what is the offensive philosophy with the Falcons this year?
Well, Brad's going to be a hard one to replace, and we're going into it of spreading the wealth. And each person has to carry a little bit more load on their shoulders. We had some juniors get some playing time in the backfield. We've got a quarterback battle going on, and we've got Colin Myers out at wide receiver, where they've got to shoulder more load to have an offensive production like we've done in the past couple of years.
What are the expectations for this group? I mean, you can tell them a few years ago, you made the playoffs and then you dropped off. And obviously you want to sustain, where you've been. So what are the expectations for this group, and where do they see themselves?
I think they want to continue the success, and the expectations are to continue the success and have a winning record and push for more than that.
Who are going to be some key guys, both offensively and defensively? Who do you build this team around?
Well, Mike Whitaker's been a 3-year starter for us at running back. He's a great leader for us. Nick Denny is someone that I think you're going to hear about a lot more this year. He was a sophomore that actually started for us, and he'll be a junior this year playing both ways. Trevor Stavansky up front is a load for us. He's 6'3", 320 pounds, and he's been a 4-year starter. So defensively, Larry Verhovic's been a 2-year starter for us at inside linebacker. So we got some experience coming back, and we need the leadership with it.
Coach, you get to the playoffs last year. Obviously, the first round didn't go the way you had hoped it would. But for the kids who are coming back that had a taste of that, how important is that for them now to work through the heat and the humidity of this summer, to get ready for the season, saying, hey, we know what that felt like to play when a lot of teams were sitting at home on Friday night. How important is that now as they get ready for this year?
Well, it's huge because, it didn't end the way we wanted it, but that's what they talk about the most. I mean, they don't talk about the first game of last year. They talk about the last game, and they talk about their experiences. And, Woodridge was a great football team, but they talk about the good and the bad of that game, and that's kind of where we've carried it all offseason.
I remember being on the field following your Week 10 victory that put you in the playoffs. And when you announced to the kids, I don't know if you had seen it on Twitter or a text that, it had broke your way and you were in, just the sheer exuberance of those kids, knowing, hey, we got another week of practice and we have another week to play. I'm sure that kind of fuels them again this year, knowing that feeling. I mean, you can be motivated by how you felt after a loss, but also knowing how you felt that moment when you announced that, hey, guys, we're playing another week. I mean, that can drive them as well.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, the excitement of, everyone finding out, everyone hugging everyone, the community. I mean, you're talking one of the few teams left going into Week 11 in the county, and, it was just a great experience, and that should be a driving force to prove that we can do it again.
No doubt. Well, hey, appreciate you stopping by. Always a pleasure to sit here and talk some football with you. Now, you're not as tan as you were last year, Coach. Hey, last year you came in here, I think you had just gotten back from vacation or something. Not as much sun this summer using the sunblock?
Yeah, no, I've been working out, though. You didn't say I lost any weight. I've been working out.
Really?
I've been waiting all off season to talk to you, so.
Really?
Yeah, it's been a long off season.
Well, I'm glad I could fulfill that for you then, Mike.
Yeah.
And we'll bump into each other at Piggy sometime.
I look forward to it. Maybe you'll get a coffee this time.
Speaking of that, were one of you two guys the ones that somebody hit a jackpot there?
I wouldn't be sitting here tonight.
Was it one of you two guys?
And I don't think he'd be sitting here tonight either.
So it's not you, so somebody else in South Amherst.
Hit the big one in Piggy?
Oh, it was like $140,000. It was rolling cash 5.
Well, Zoltai.
No, I missed that one.
Zoltai's a South Amherst resident now, and Piggy's is the demarcation point. He stays on his side, and I stay on my side. That's how it works.
Who set that up?
I did.
Yeah.
All right, man. Hey, good talking to you, Mike.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Mike Passerello, the head coach of the Fireless Falcons, joining us here at Wolfies as part of our 2016 high school football preview. All right, our final timeout. When we come back, Sean Arno, and then he'll be followed by DJ Shaw. We got 2 more coaches to go, so stay with us on WEOL and Rob Online
at WEOL.com.
Stop. Whether it's on the way to school, at school, or online, bullying has become a non-stop threat to our youth today. Is your child being bullied? The National Runaway Switchboard can help. If you're having a hard time, get online or call to chat now.
Of course, we thank the people from Nick Abraham Elyria Ford for being our presenting sponsor here tonight. Of course, a big thank you to everybody at Wolfies. Man, they have treated the coaches so very, very well. But how about Alan Calcaterra back in the studios of WEOL? Very best in the business. Boy, racking up highlights, trying to keep track of all these coaches and doing a yeoman's work back there, working a little overtime tonight. So, Alan, we appreciate all of your efforts as well. As we said, Jared Kozar here from the station, Matt Douglas, man, all sorts of folks that have pitched in as far as tonight's effort was concerned. And again, the coaches, 16 out of 17 high school football coaches in Lorain County have made the trip over to Wolfies tonight. Let's get to Sean Arno, the head coach of the Wellington Dukes, who now steps in here at the head table. Again, another guy that has certainly been patient in waiting his turn as all the coaches showed up here. But, Sean, you got a good meal out of the deal, correct?
I had a nice dinner tonight. Thank you very much.
Oh, our pleasure, and it's great to have you here. And, of course, for the Wellington Dukes, coming off a year last year in which you were 3-7 overall. I know you didn't get a win in your side of the division as far as the pack was concerned. So where do you go from there? How do you build on that? I know you played a lot of young kids last year.
Yeah, let's hope.
Yeah.
We started eight sophomores opening up against Chippewa. So they've got a lot of experience. We had a real nice summer, and we had a nice camp, a lot of 7-on-7 stuff, good scrimmages with Sandusky Central Catholic Tuesday. They were a playoff team, and we did real well against them. And in South Central, didn't play exceptionally well against Western Reserve, but I don't know. We just came out a little flat, but we made some corrections. Tonight was a nice practice. And I see the leadership. Seniors had a little meeting afterwards about not coming out flat. So we're still a junior-based team, but we have 5 really good seniors and about 14, 15 juniors. So those kids, they're all kind of battle tested from last year.
I was just going to say, how much better are they just as football players right now than they were a year ago tonight?
A lot. We went down to Ashland, had a nice camp, won a 7-on-7 down there, and we played some big schools. We were successful, and of course, it's not real football, but winning is winning, and it helps the kids winning no matter what they're winning. So yeah, I mean, we got kids who were 168 pounds last year, are now 190, benching 250. Got kids that were running 4.9s, 5 flats, are now running 4.7s. So that's a big deal. I mean, they're older, and the game slows down. Once you become a sophomore to a junior to a senior, the game slows down, and you anticipate. So there's a lot of that going on.
Rob?
What are the expectations for this season? I know how competitive you are. I've known you for a while.
Yeah.
And I know it eats at you.
Big time.
What are the expectations for this year?
And go out and same as last year when we talked. I mean, we maybe weren't in that driver's seat with those young kids to get there, but they're exactly the same. They're not going to be any different. We talk about those all the time, but right now, when we look at what we try to do today is we want to try to get some basic things right, and those are our goals. We want to try to get our attitude and our effort straight, alignment, assignment, technique, and reads. Just do it right. Get in a stance, do it right. And we're continually working at that. Kids need to completely buy into that process, and they're pretty close. The leadership will change because the kids are older. And we've been working at that for a couple of years. And I've seen that tonight. So I'm pleased with that. We're going to go out and try to win every time we go out there. And with a group that's a little more tested and a little older, we have a better chance. That's for sure.
When you look at your team, how good do you feel this team can be this year? Whether it's wins, losses, or just improvement, how much better can they be than they were last year?
A lot better, I think. We lost a couple good kids last year. And give a shout out to those guys. Devin Adler went on to BW. He was a really good linebacker. Cole Jarowski, he played a lot for us at linebacker spot in center. And then Jordan Howard and Chris Wagner played most of the time. But those 4 guys that we had, I mean, they were good, but we didn't have 15 seniors we graduated. The kids that are stepping in there, they look forward to that challenge, and I think they're going to do really well. When you get a kid, it's a sophomore, he spends a year in a weight room, and he's benching 220, now he's benching 280. That's a difference maker.
Oh, man.
And when a kid's, like I said, running a 4.9, he's running a 4.7 because he's done band work all winter. He's trained, and he's 168 to 190. And then we have a 190-pound free safety. Last year we had 150-pound free safety. That's a big difference when a kid comes up and he's like a linebacker. He'll take on a junior or senior running back. We didn't have that opportunity last year. When we had that big senior class the year before. So they're bigger, they're stronger, and they're faster. So it puts you in the game with anybody you play, I think.
Sean, looking at your stats from last year,
yeah.
Offensively, you scored 23 points a game.
Yeah.
Defensively, you gave up 42. So how do you get that defensive number down?
Well, first thing I did is for me, I stepped away from, I didn't call either side of the ball, but I took over the defense this year. And we're going to run my defense. I haven't run it since I've really been here, and we'll run it, what I've run for the past 12 years. So I will take full credit and full responsibility for being better or not being better on that side. We were focused on that from the very beginning about being stingy, about giving up points. And we are going to focus on that all year. Every time we gave up something in a 7-on-7, it mattered. Every time we gave up something in a scrimmage, it matters. And I'm not pleased with any points that we give up. So that's been a big focus in the offseason. Offensively, yeah, I think we can continue to hit that stride. We run an up-tempo spread offense that features some pretty good kids. We can definitely throw the ball, and we can definitely get after it on that side. We really want to focus this next scrimmage on our run game. We passed a lot in the first 2 scrimmages intentionally to work on some things, but we really want to get after it against Richmond on Friday night versus the run. So we worked that hard today because we got to get that run game going.
And hey, before we let you go, I got to throw it out there.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's been some questions about where you're playing your home games this year.
Hopefully at home.
Anything you can update us on, or what the situation is?
Hopefully at home. That's all I can say. Be a board meeting, hopefully to come up with a good decision. I think they're committed to being at home and giving our seniors and the whole town that home experience. It's a great place to be in the middle of a neighborhood. Drive in. You're not at the high school. You drive to a separate place. I talked to a guy once. I was at a nutrition place out in Westlake or Avon or somewhere, and he said how bad he hated driving to Wellington to play them. He's like, every time we went there, it's like, what place do you drive to that devotes an entire area in the middle of a city to the football facility in the middle of a neighborhood? And he said that always disturbed me when I drove into that. And then they would proceed to get out. We'd get out of the bus, come off the bus, and get our butts whipped, and then have to get back and go on. I think that's a great place. We just need to make it right now, and I think that's the intention of the board to get it done, and we'll know tomorrow night when we have a meeting.
And the flip side of that is you got to coach a football team. I mean, whether you're playing there or playing somewhere else or playing in Cuyahoga County. I mean, hey, it's 100 yards, and you got to coach that football team.
And that's kind of been the focus. The kids and everything. There's been distractions, been tear down, and all that stuff's going on. But at the same time, though, it's kind of a good distraction because we're going to deal with messes. Everywhere you go, every time you go on the road, there's all kind of stuff that goes wrong. And as we have to now go on the road for our first scrimmage, maybe all of our scrimmages, we have to deal with problems. So you're getting maybe some really good habits about packing the bus right, not forgetting mouthpieces and things that are essential to playing the game. Like somebody, I won't call out his name, but he put 2 right cleats for the last game, okay, in his bag. And he looked at me and said, what am I going to do? I go, I don't know what you're going to do. You have 2 right cleats. How do you do that? So those things.
You made him a kicker and made him barefoot kick.
Exactly. So you got 2 right cleats, brother. So those are the kind of things, though, you get good at. Hey, I'm going to get on the road. I'm going to get good at being on the road. And, I mean, stranger things have happened. We just got to put a product out there. And kids and I and the coaches, we've just been focused on us. Focus on the kids, and that's all we've been doing. And that's what we're going to continue to do and not even think about anything else. So
there you go. Well, hey, man, I know you were patient. We really appreciate you stopping by. I know it's a little bit of a jaunt. So be safe in your travels, and we hope everything works out. And best of luck this year. You got some good young talent coming back.
I hope so.
Thanks,
see you,
Sean.
man. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thanks, Sean.
Man.
Good luck, Sean.
All right.
Sean Arno, the head coach of the Wellington Dukes, joining us here at the head table. And that means we're down to 1. We are down to our final coach, DJ Shaw, the head coach of the Midview Middies. He's been waiting patiently as well. Is going to step on over to the table and join us. So, Rob, by the way, before we get to DJ, anything real quick about our good friends here at Wolfie's that you want to talk about? Things that are coming up here at Wolfie's?
Absolutely. Thanks, Tim, for that. Wolfie's again here once again. Thanks to Scott and Wendy Wolf. And we want to remind you that this week on Thursday, they've got the local city-themed trivia challenge. Other teams, you can test your knowledge of Elyria and Lorain County. It's hosted by DJ Jimbo. That starts at 8 o'clock this Friday night. The acoustic duel of Mike and Priscilla. They're right here on the patio from 7 to 11, and they do covers from the 60s to today. So that's all coming up this weekend. Tomorrow night, Build Your Own Taco Night. 2 overstuffed tacos for $7, proudly presented by Chef Jacob. They've got on Wednesday, Build Your Own Burger with fries for just $8. Thursdays, it's hand-tossed flatbreads, $7 with cheese. So all kinds of good food this week. And then they wanted me to let you know that what also is new this year, Wolfie's has a Browns Backers Club. Boy, I could see Gary Pelder being in that. The Wolfie's Browns Backer Club. It's going to be hosted by DJ and sports enthusiast Jimbo Float. It's free to join. You can earn weekly loyalty discounts and specials. And tailgate party is on the pavilion each and every Sunday. And on Sundays, just to get you ready to watch those Browns, you build your own Bloody Mary bars starting at 11 a.m. So the Wolfie's Browns Backers Club.
Jimbo Floats. I thought that's what Ed Trinashevsky had down at the Indians game on Friday night. He had everything. He had the Jimbo Float going. He had the onion rings going. He had the burgers going. And then he had the snow cone. He had the snow cone to finish things off. Well, finishing things off for us tonight here at Wolfie's. Wow, what a night. 16 coaches. Man, if you listen for 3.5 hours, you deserve some sort of prize. But, hey, DJ Shaw, what a program he's got rolling over at Midview High School. And DJ settles in. By the way, did you see your guy on the cover here? How about that?
Yeah, looks good.
Nice little shot there of the Golden Helmet winner of 2015, Logan Bolin. So we always honor the Golden Helmet winner by putting them on the forecast cover. And yet you sat here last year, DJ, and you said, anybody that brings up the year before, they're running. They're not allowed to do it. So, again, you're coming off a great season in 2015, but you got to look ahead. So where do you go in 2016?
Yeah, we're not exactly in the same boat as we were last year. We had a great 2014 year, and we had a lot of guys back, so it was different in the fact that, we didn't want those guys, looking at their success they had the year before. This year it's a little bit different in that we have a lot of rookies that are coming into us, and that being said, we want to try to build off of our success, and hopefully some of these rookies and younger guys that we have learn from our experiences in the past, and we can use that moving forward.
Well, you have one of the best players in the county in Dustin Crum. A young man has committed to Kent State, which I'm very happy about as a Kent State alum. But how do you build an offense around Dustin? What are some of the things that you can do where you have to fill in some pieces, but knowing you've got your trigger guy there? What can you do now to surround him and make that offense just as explosive as it's been?
Yeah, we're not planning on changing our offense much. I mean, Dustin's really good at what he does, and he's good at running that type of offense as shown in the past. We're just trying to put some guys around him that he feels comfortable getting the ball to and doing what he does. I mean, he's a very efficient quarterback. He's proven that he's a winner. And, we want to make sure that we get, him comfortable with the guys that he's been working with. And so far, it's been looking pretty good with that.
Who are some of the surrounding cast members, whether they're guys coming back or some newcomers?
Yeah, we had a newcomer from Elyria that transferred over. He actually moved into the district, Luke Hunt. I thought he's been a big piece for us. He's fit in really well. Keith Johnson was a backup for us last year. He's looked really good at our outside receiver spot so far. David Amsden's a kid that was a starter for us last year. He was kind of our fourth guy. Broke the school 200-meter dash record this spring in track. He's a really fast kid. He'll be back with some experience, and then probably our fourth receiver with probably Sam Butler, but a guy that played for us last year had minimal time, but a guy that we feel comfortable with. And then we've got a boatload of young guys that are kind of mixing in, and it hasn't been all settled yet. We'll see kind of where it goes.
A couple of years ago, you had one of the biggest offensive lines I can ever remember watching in high school football. How does your offensive line look this year?
They're looking good so far. Coach Strebel's done a great job with them. We're definitely building on some things. We've got 4 new guys up there. The only returning starter is Chase Johnson, who will be a senior for us. But we're excited about that bunch, and they're working really hard on their craft. And they got some things to fix from our last scrimmage, which I think we did get fixed. And we got to be patient with them. They're not as big as they were 2 years ago, but we got some kids up there that I think are pretty good athletes and pretty strong kids. So we just got to get them going in the right direction.
DJ, nobody wants to be in that class where things slide backwards. Now, I don't know if anybody thinks you can go 10-0 again, but how do the kids react to that, and how do they handle that, realizing, man, we've had a lot of success the past couple of years?
Well, I don't think the pressure is there this year that there has been in the past. I don't think, last year it was tough because there was a lot of pressure on those kids, and we kind of felt like every week that we were taking everybody's best shot. They wanted to take Midview down for, they knew we had a good team coming back and a lot of returning starters. This year it's completely different. I don't look at it as pressure for those kids. I look at it as, I hope that those young kids the last couple of years were paying attention and watching how those seniors from last year went about their business and their preparation. And we had some really good football players the last couple of years, but we also had some really good kids. And, when your best players are good kids, it's easy to build around that. So we hope that, these younger guys have been watching those guys the last couple of years, and we hope that that's going to help us moving forward.
But the cupboard isn't bare this year.
No, I don't think it's bare at all. I think we got some great players coming back that we're really excited about.
Just your overall expectations for this group. How good can this group be?
I think the sky's the limit. I really do, and I told them that we had a little bit of a rough scrimmage versus Barberton on Saturday, and it was a big learning point for those guys. They, we got our butts kicked at times a little bit, and we made a lot of mistakes, but. That's as to be expected. We got a lot of newcomers, a lot of rookies. I think 7 new starters on offense and 8 on defense. And we got a couple injuries right now, and we got St. Vincent St. Mary coming on Thursday, so it's not going to be coming any easier for us with our scrimmages. So, that being said, it's just we got to be patient with those guys and understand that we're dealing with some rookies here that, we're a little wide-eyed and we'll give it some time, and I think it'll come through.
obviously a fun way, perhaps, to start the season with Lorain High a week from Friday. I mean, that place will be jumping. I imagine, you got St. B's and you got to get ready for a scrimmage, but pointing towards that one, that's a great way to open up the campaign, and you're going to find out what your kids have.
Absolutely. Lorain's been a very good football program under Coach McFarland, and I know his kids will be ready to play, and they're going to be a physical bunch. That's one thing about Dave's teams, that they're always physical, and our kids got to be ready to match that. And another thing is, it's just great to have a Lorain County matchup like that, whether it's us playing Elyria or Lorain. Those are the two schools in Lorain County that are a little bit bigger like us, that are not in our conference. So I think it's awesome that we get to play against Lorain, and I think the fans love it. I think that it's going to be a great high school atmosphere for us.
No doubt. Well, hey, I know you were patiently waiting, so we'll let you scoot. Congratulations on these great back-to-back years that you've had at Midview, and we'll see how 2016 unfolds. But it's great to have a Mitty on the cover of the Forecast magazine, so congratulations to Logan as well. And I've got that game next Friday, so we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, DJ. Great to see you. DJ Shaw, the head coach of the Midview Middies, joining us here at Wolfies. Whew. And Rob, that is going to do it. My goodness. Again, what can you say? 16 out of 17 high school football coaches here in Lorain County that took time out of their schedules and their very, very busy preparations for an upcoming season to spend some time with us. We cannot thank them enough, and obviously everybody here at Wolfies as well. But what a terrific night here at Wolfies.
It always is. We always look forward to it, and that's the reason we look forward to it. I mean, it's because the coaches. It's because they take the time to come here, to get us excited, to tell us about their teams, to sit there and wait for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and not complain about it. And and it is awesome that 16 out of 17 take the time to come out and do it. And I think you just appreciate it more and more every year.
No doubt about it. Well, everybody's been here long enough, so that's going to do it. Wow, what a night. Again, thanks so much to all the coaches who came out to Wolfies tonight. Again, as far as WEOL was concerned, Alan Calcaterra back at the studio, Jared Kozar, Matt Douglas, staff members that were here tonight pitching in. We appreciate all of their efforts. Of course, Rob, thanks to you. Wolfies, huge thank you. Scott and Wendy Wolf, Chuck Sturgill, Chad Whitaker, everybody over at Nick Abraham, Elyria Ford. We appreciate their efforts. Biggest thanks goes to you, the listeners. Whew. I'll be back with you again next week when we get ready for high school football right here on AM 930 WEOL. Oh, Joe Bach. Yes, WLCS TV 20, Lorain City Schools. We thank him as well. Don't forget to check it out on the YouTube channel. Yeah, you'll be using up a lot of that computer time watching this on YouTube, but dial that one in. So we'll talk to you again next week as we get ready for kickoff of the 2016 high school football season. Until then, Tim Elkhorn saying thank you very much for listening, and from Wolfies, so long, everybody.
This has been a production of Lorain City Schools TV 20 WLCS.
To purchase a high-quality copy of the program you just viewed, please call Lorain City Schools Television at 282-8400.